Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another indie horror spotlight. Today I have with us, he's a filmmaker as well as a musician. He has a new film out that's right now it's in pre-production, and it's an Indiegogo going on first, so definitely shoot some support. I have my man Kevin Priest with us, and he has a new film. It's called The Slasher Film. Kevin, welcome to the Horror Room.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Travis. And hello to everybody out there. I know I'm coming at you from left field, but we got a lot of fun stuff to say.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about the Slasher Film. I've seen a lot of buzz coming out about it.
Well, I'm glad that it's being seen. Thank goodness. I'm doing everything I can. I've been actually working and pushing, but Facebook algorithms and you know, people trying to get money out of you basically and make you pay them to market. It's very difficult to get the word out there. So every little bit like this really, really helps, and I truly appreciate it. But
Awesome.
slasher film is a slasher film.
Yeah.
It's basically about these kids. It's a super original idea. It's about these kids who are in a little trouble with the law and they got to do a little community service by gentrifying an old insane asylum. Unfortunately, someone hasn't moved out yet. Dun dun dun. It's very original. It's very it involves every new and exciting idea, doesn't it? No, it
Yes.
doesn't. But wait, there's more. Halfway through the movie, they find out that they're in a slasher film, but we never break the fourth wall and we never talk to the audience. So how am I going to
Wow.
do that? So that's the pitch. So we're trying to do some new stuff with kind of a, I hate to say tired genre, but the slasher film is probably the redheaded stepchild of horror these days, right?
It is.
Oh, supernatural and thinking horror, which by the way I adore.
Hmm.
But it's I I can sit here and lie to you. I can sit here and tell you, oh, it's this and it's that. But I think it's better that I literally take it from one of the actors who auditioned for me. And this happened over a year ago, by the way. The reason why is because they're in the proof of concept film, which is one of the perks that we're offering in the Indiegogo called The Legend of Joseph Goody. It's kind of the, one of the people in the insane asylum who, had his own story. So there's 100 stories you can tell about that. Anyway, she said it's a lot like Halloween. Now she's younger, so she means the new one.
Okay.
Um, well, I mean, I can lie, right? But obviously I'm older, right? So
I'm
she means the
41,
new one.
so yeah.
And she said, well, it's kind of like Halloween meets that old movie, The Breakfast Club. And I went,
Okay.
well, first off, old movie, ouch.
Yeah,
And
no.
and what? And she said, well, if you really think about it, no character is really what they seem. And I went, I don't have a better description than that. So yeah, it's kind of like that in the sense of there's always a little something going on. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I think that's what sort of differentiates it from the average slasher where, kids go to the woods and oh no, they're in trouble, or kids go to the mall and oh no, they're in trouble, or kids go to the 1920s oil tycoon convention and oh no, there's trouble. It's always the same basic formula.
Hmm.
So I think we've done something a little different, and I'm kind of excited to get it out there. And I think as a huge horror fan myself, I like to play with the conventions. I was a producer on another horror movie that you guys might have seen, actually, called Butchers. It's on Amazon Prime and Tubi, and it's sold around the world. It's a friend of mine who wrote and directed that, and it's one of the reasons I got prompted to really, push forward and finally make my own film, because I've managed to get some great, positions where I've been able to work with, A-list stars, and I've also been able to work with, Joe from down the street because I was available and I helped him, you know. But now it's my turn.
It is your turn.
And I realized that, that, and I feel like I can use that success that Adrian Langley has achieved with Butchers as a producer on it and go, okay, well, I've got something too. I've got a story to say. So I'm pretty excited about that. By the way, as a little tiny side note, Butchers 2 was at the Nightmares Festival in Ohio.
Nice.
Premiered just before Halloween, and Butchers 3 is on its way as well. I think it's coming out in February itself, which is hopefully when we can start shooting slasher film.
Awesome.
Which, so it's all kind of piled on top of each other, right? But again, that's not my film. That's his film.
Mhm.
Slasher film is my film. That's the one. That's the one I'm pushing for.
Now, you were a former musician, and
Yeah, I was. Oh, sorry.
No, not percent. Do you think that carried over and helped you when it came to making your first film?
The first film I made was actually a short film. Ironically, it's on YouTube. It's called Roommates. And funny enough, the director of Butchers was an actor in that one.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, it's a very strange, weird connected thing that we've been just making films for years and trying to get our own art and our own voice out there. So has it helped me? I think it started me. Basically, I did my first film because nobody would give me a job making music for their film because they only saw me as a rock musician. They said, "Oh yeah, if I need rock music, I'll hit you up." And I was like, no, I'd like to, I want to make the score. I want to do the score.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I love music, and I'm always going to love music, and I'm always going to be involved. And I'll give you an exclusive. As of yesterday, I'm in the studio every single week with my business partner. His name's Howard Sonnenberg. He was the keyboard player for The Haunting and Pale AD along with me. And we've decided that we're going to dust off some instruments and we're going to be doing the score ourselves. So yes, you're going to see an original score done for that.
Nice.
It's exciting and terrifying at the same time. But being a musician, how's it helped me? It has definitely helped. Made me more aware of how to tell a story in a different amount of time. I was used to fitting in at 3.5 minutes to 4 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I have all this space. I've got, and I've learned about pacing and sort of where to put the right chorus or the right swell of music and the right bridge to convey the right emotion for the scene. So absolutely, it is 100% helped, and it got me ready for things like not in present company, of course, but doing press can be very exhausting. And because of my experience in the band and the fact that we managed to attain some radio airplay and some video play and our, version of MTV up here, you get used to having to jump into another person and another bit of press and a bit of, say this radio station's name and make a commercial for us. And so that's been interesting for me. So it's cool. And it sort of preps you for this. I see a lot of people who are my peers who make films and things, and it's like watching paint dry, man. When you not the film, God, but their interviews, because they're kind of like
they're stiff.
Waiting for the question. When does the question come? You know what I mean? Like they couldn't do this report thing. So it's fun. You get a different vibe. Sometimes there's great press and sometimes there's not so great press. By the way, if you hear a little squeaking noise in the background, it's not your microphone. It's my dog. I have a puppy. And she's squeaking her toy because I'm sitting up, so she wants to play, right? She's very cute.
I thought it was your chair, but I mean, it wasn't loud enough for me to be like, what's that noise? But okay.
Yeah, well, I figured it's, in case anybody's like, what's that friggin' noise in the background?
Squeaky chair.
Yeah, so if you hear squeaking, it's that. Zora, could you please? Thank you, baby. Would you like some cookie? You know what? Let's take 2 seconds. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna literally give my dog treats for good dogs.
Yes.
You know what I mean? She's a good dog, and she's a lovely little creature.
She definitely deserves it.
Absolutely.
She's probably loving it.
Take it. There you go. If you're crunching, it's the dog. All right. Yeah. Back to you, Travis.
So I grew up in the 80s, huge slasher fan. Renaissance.
I love this topic, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up, I felt like the golden age of slashers.
I was literally going to say the golden age of the slasher film was the 80s.
Yes.
I feel like we're in a new horror renaissance right now. I know that a lot of people are going to be, divided on that point, but hear me out. If you look at the new films that are kind of exciting and cool today, um, they have some of the same elements of some of the the magic of running to the corner store and renting a videotape and getting it home, and there's a skull on the box, oh, it's got to be cool.
Mm-hmm.
That magic moment, when somebody is sort of flipping through their streaming service and they find that weird, what the heck is Unholy Night, a Christmas movie without horror? By the way, a friend of mine shot that. um, so yeah, and it's Christmas, so watch it. It's on Amazon. But there's so much more access right now. When we were kids, you would get a chance to see the new. I mean, I still remember walking in and seeing the new videotapes up, and there was like Black Roses, and the case was bumpy, and it was like
Love it.
Oh, it was so cool. Or they brought in a cool film called The Pit, and they had a creature coming out of a pit, and his eyes lit up,
Yes.
and you were like, oh. Or Frankenhooker, and you press the button and it said, want a date? These crazy, marketing ideas they did because, they had the option to put the box on the shelf. You were going to see it. In streaming, you can flip through and see a cool cover. Sometimes you get a little disappointed. I call it panhandling because basically in the old days, you would go through and actually put sand and dirt, and you would work the pan until we're left with little nuggets of gold. I feel like today's horror streaming is a lot like that. There's a lot of grit and there's a lot of sand. Once in a while, you'll find some gold, like things that have really impressed me lately in the new realm of horror have been things like It Follows. I loved it. I think it's fantastic. They're going to do a sequel. I think the ending was weak on that movie, but the actual movie taught us something really cool, and I'll go into that in a second. When I referenced the second movie, I think that was really strong was something like A Quiet Place. You saw something you never saw before, and you had to listen, and you experienced the film in a new way. So that's why I think we're in a new horror renaissance. We're getting a lot of thinking person's horror, like The Witch and from A24 and Hereditary and Midsommar and things like that. And then we're getting flat out gore pieces, like Terrifier by Damien Leone and all these. I mean, let's be honest, Terrifier is probably one of the biggest talked about gore pieces, right?
Yeah.
And then with Terrifier 2, I think it's phenomenal because I actually got to meet David, who plays Art the Clown, years ago. And we were going to the same horror conventions together. We would go and we would, chit chat. We would talk to Felissa Rose from Sleepaway Camp, or, Kevin Van Hedrick from Basket Case, or, all these cool cult, guests that were there. And little did I know he was gathering numbers and putting them in his movie in Terrifier 2, and look at the success he attained. I mean, good for him. I think it's great. And that's exactly, I guess, the kind of vibe or feeling that I'm trying to inject into slasher film, because I mean, when I was writing it, I've been working on this movie for years, by the way. When I was writing it, I wanted to come up with a cool title, but I just wrote slasher film as a sort of, it's my slasher film. And when it came down to it, back to the director of Butchers, Adrian, he and I were chatting, and he had done a short film called Slasher Film. It's kind of a good tongue-in-cheek thing. I don't even know if it's available or not, but it was wonderful. But I said to him, oh man, I'd love to just use slasher film. And he goes, go ahead, use it. And I'm like, okay. So, because there's no other title that really kind of nails it. I mean, think about it. When I mention the movie to anyone, I say it's a slasher film, and they go, called slasher film. And they literally go, okay, maybe I'm on board here. And then the follow-up happens to be a slasher film, and you actually discuss the real slasher film. But the way it's presented, it doesn't take itself too seriously, but it doesn't make itself a horror comedy either. It's a horror. the only comedy in it is really, life comedy. I mean, things are funny in life. So it's okay to make a joke once in a while. You know what I mean? Sometimes that's how we deal with, the real true horror in life. Make a joke. My whole
Yeah,
life's a
it
joke.
is.
No, I'm kidding.
So, so I have a question because you actually brought up a topic that I've always asked filmmakers. So especially when it comes to making a slasher film, we're in the renaissance of slasher films. We're also in the renaissance of indie horror filmmaking,
Oh
where
yeah.
it's possible for not anybody, but it's possible for everybody to right now, if you wanted to get out there and actually put together a piece of work, your masterpiece when it comes to indie horror,
You
it's
can shoot it
it's
on a phone.
achievable. It's achievable. I mean,
Hmm.
but like you said, when it comes to streaming services, there's a lot of, I'm going to say it in a nice way, but there's a lot of crap.
Dreck is what I'd call it. Dreck
Dreck.
is the perfect word. It's a British word that essentially means refuse, or things that it's like the chaff from the wheat.
Yes.
And I mean, let me touch on that for 2 seconds. There's a couple of films that are god awful. I mean god awful. But I
Yes.
will defend them to the death because in their own way they're wonderful. I'll give you the perfect example. The greatest worst movie of all time, in my personal opinion, is a movie that is tough to find, but if you find it, you need to watch it because it's a gem in a whole different way. It's called Hard Rock Zombies. Hard Rock Zombies, if I can broad brush the plot for you, features a heavy metal band's bus that breaks down. They stay at some weird rock chick's uh, mansion. Somehow she's random dancing in the street. So there's breakdowns. There's dance numbers. Um, while there, they discover a bass line that revives the dead, which of course they immediately record a song with. And yeah. Oh wait, it gets worse. They have a dwarf butler who apparently may be some kind of cannibal. The grandmother in the family is a werewolf. The grandfather is also some kind of psychotic. I'll mention him in a second. He ties in by the end. But the weird thing is, they of course play the new song and raise the band up at their funeral, and of course they save the town from the grandfather, who turns out to be, yes, banging the werewolf and Hitler.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's so bad. He literally, it's the worst. It's, oh my god, it's so painful. However, if you look at it with a filmmaker's eye, somebody had to sit with that movie for over a year to edit it, put together the music, do all the assembly, etc., get it shot. And it looks like it's been shot with their buddy's band down the road. I mean, it's awful looking, but somebody loved it. So somebody spent a year with it. So I'm always curious, why did they spend a year on it? So I'll put, like, I'm the kind of person that will be flipping through the streaming services now and go, wait a minute, killer sofa about a killer armchair, I'm in. Fire that sucker
Exactly.
up. But I'm also the kind of person who goes, holy crap, Midsummer is a masterpiece. It's literally the pinnacle of daytime horror, or so I thought until I saw The Dead, like which features the zombie apocalypse outside of America. Guess what? There's a whole world out there outside of America. It's amazing
Exactly.
to see a zombie apocalypse occurring in the Sahara Desert. Wow, what a cool idea,
Mhm.
Again, because we have access, you click through your Fire Stick or your Roku or whatever it is you're using, and you find all these gems. But yeah, you got to take some chaff. Remember, and here's where we get back to the point at the beginning of this whole rambling craziness.
Mhm.
You can't grow a stalk of wheat without the chaff. If
You
you're going to
can't.
get the good, you got to have some of the bad. Some of the bad, though, still you can use it. Might be
And
something good in there.
I love bad movies, so I'll actually enjoy it. I started my YouTube channel. Originally, the idea was reviewing bad horror movies, but I would give them on a, I would give it, I would give them, I would rate them on a Tubi scale. That's what I called it, a Tubi scale from one
Yeah.
to five. And 'cause I do like, I like bad movies that know they're
Aware.
bad,
Yeah.
They're
I had this
they're
conversation with another filmmaker. He was very, very serious. And when I say this, I don't know how to truly express it. It's sort of like I'm sure you've heard of The Room. It's
hmm
this god awful movie, and I don't care what anybody says. It's terrible. I don't care
it
who
is.
defends it. It's awful. And the filmmaker doesn't know that he doesn't know what he's doing. He actually thinks he's
Tommy
good. He
Wiseau
has
does
no
not
idea. He's
know.
delusional.
Hmm
And that's part of why it became famous, because this guy doesn't really know. Everybody's like, oh yeah, no, he's working us. No, he really doesn't. Trust me, I've met him. There's a couple of filmmakers I met. One guy who I adore and became friends with. His name was Brian Singleton, and he did this weird little indie film called Forest of the Dead. Wasn't amazing, but it wasn't bad. You could see where he was going with it, and you could tell he just wanted to make a movie that was a horror movie. He made this amazing movie, and I don't know if it's still available anywhere, but if you can find it, it's called Death Trike. It's
Okay.
about a possessed tricycle that takes revenge on the people who ran down the kid riding the trike, right?
Mhm.
So it's kind of got a solid concept. You're like, okay, yeah, I can kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, if there's going to be a Chucky,
it's
yeah,
just like 80s horror. It's 80s horror.
but he actually, I remember talking to him at one of the festivals. He was upset because everybody was laughing during the screening, and I'm like, dude, it's about a killer tricycle. Think about it. It's
Yeah.
hilarious. I mean, it is honestly gut busting funny, but he plays it straight, and that's what makes it amazing. So,
hmm
I mean, with slasher film, where I bring it back to me, of course, can't help it, promo.
Yes. No.
But but when you bring it back to slasher film, it's the same way I treat the comedy. I don't treat it in a manner that is, here's the gag, here comes the joke. Look, here it comes down the pipe. No, I don't do that. I basically just say something funny as if a person would actually say it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, a good example is, we have a lot of opportunities. I mean, if you are with your friends,
hmm
yourself, going up to this gigantic, monolithic looking, old insane asylum, are you not going to crack a joke about it?
1%.
Exactly. So that's
100%.
where you're going to see maybe a joke. I mean, one of the characters kind of goes, wow, Hammer horror much? And then they get into a little tiny discussion about whether it's the Depp or the Wilder version, you know, of, more like Charlie's Chocolate Factory. Yeah. Depp or Wilder? Well, Depp, of course. Wilder was a master, though. And, like it's a whole back and forth, much like we would all have with our friends cracking wise, especially when you're going to, let's be honest, a pretty imposing looking building, and you
Yes.
have to be there, and you're gonna break the tension. So those are the attempts at humor. They're not the, you know, I even try to take a shot at, some of the jokes that a lot of films these days try to do. Like, I don't know about you, and I don't know how the younger generation feels about it, but I can't stand it when I hear someone go down and talk to Michael Myers on Romero Way. Ugh.
Yes.
Like,
It's a
really?
joke.
Is that what we're doing? I understand you're nodding to the masters, and no disrespect to the people who created those characters, but having them winked and nudged at us, ah, you know, yeah, I feel like it's a cheap joke. It's like
Yeah.
it's like spending all the money in the budget that you have to get a horror icon to come in for one day and have them on the box or something because they're
Like
in the movie for
5 minutes. Yeah.
Oh, that's so frustrating. I'll tell you right now, if I ever do that, you can come back to this podcast and you can call me out on the internet. You can have me tried in the court of public execution, or in public court. You can execute me, because man, I will never do that without saying and featuring so and so.
By the way,
Never gonna say star.
I fucking hate that. I've actually brought it up a couple times on my channel. Like,
I hate it too,
I,
but we're not
I,
going to do
I,
it.
yeah, I'm like, I love Felissa Rose, right? I
Oh, I
met
love
her
it
at
too.
horror conventions, met her many times, and seen quite a few movies she's in. But I hate when it says this movie is starring Felissa Rose. She's
And
like
she's
the
in it
lead
for 5 minutes.
actress, and she's in for 5 minutes and gone.
I'll tell you right now, if I had Felissa come and do 5 minutes in a film, I'd still have her stay for a week, because that woman is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to independent film and when it comes to making films. She actually was on. They were trying to revive the old Corolico label. Do you remember them? They used to do a lot of
Mm-hmm.
horror in the 80s. Well, she was actually at the forefront of that. She was actually one of the people on the board for that. Way back in, I think, 95 or 6 or something. When I first met her, we got talking, and I mentioned that I was a filmmaker, and we started talking, and we were going to do something together. Unfortunately, Corilico didn't manage to fly, and that's the way things crumble. But I still see Felissa all the time at the conventions, and we're always chit-chatting or hanging out or doing dinner or whatever. She's a lovely human.
Amazing. Now, question. So how do you, as a indie filmmaker, you're doing a slasher?
Yes.
Now, I see a lot of indie filmmakers. They're trying to go with the 80s slasher vibe to it.
Yeah, that's a bad idea. Oh,
But-
sorry.
But at the same time, they're also trying to be PC and not have some of the charm that 80s slashers have in them.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. I would say that the best way I've seen the modern sensibilities clash with an 80s style slasher, it has to be with the most modern and available on Netflix, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They have abhorrent characters who get under your skin almost immediately.
Hated them.
They have a fantastic line that's in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything. Literally, where Leatherface gets on the bus and all these millennials turn their, and zennials turn their cameras on him from their phones and go, try anything and you're canceled, bro. And he just starts to chainsaw and runs through them.
That's part of the movie.
It's wonderful because, and here's the thing, a lot of people will say, oh, it's great because we take out those woke libtards. That's dumb. Everybody needs to just settle down with that stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody, left and right, you both got to be on the same team and play on the ice. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Canadian me, I'm going to talk about hockey. You need a couple bruisers in the back. You need a couple quick, smart guys in the front. You need a captain to lead them all, and you got somebody who's going to take care of the net. Right?
Exactly.
It's a simple thing, but everybody plays differently. So the left and the right, if you could both, get on the ice and pass the puck once in a while, but that's handled by this movie in Texas Chainsaw beautifully because, well, Leatherface isn't going to change. He's still going to chainsaw people. You know what I mean? He doesn't care about being canceled. And that's the wonderful thing. He does not care. It's not important to that character. What I like is, and yes, people will argue, well, they stole the idea of bringing back the final girl from Halloween. Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah.
If you don't know that Friday the 13th stole the idea of being a slasher from Halloween, then you're not paying attention. If you didn't think that Scream, because I'm going to get, oh, by the way, that's the other thing. I know that this film will probably be oh, well, it's like Scream then, because it's a,
But that's what I thought when I heard slasher film.
But
straight to Scream.
Exactly. And you know what? Scream is a great franchise. However, if you were to say, I've seen the debate online, remove one franchise forever, which one would it be? Would it be Scream, Friday the 13th, Halloween, or Freddy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy. It's always going to be Scream because there's no titular killer. There's a titular mask. Ghostface is just a mask. Anyone can buy one. That's why they used it on purpose for that reason. They made something common terrifying. And then it's a whodunit. I mean, if you really look at it, as much as I love Scream and sort of, and I love how the new ones have taken, streaming and all the new technology into effect and used it in a really clever way. There was a couple there that, let's be honest, they were awful. I think Scream 4, I think it was just
Scream 4 was bad.
But not all of them can be good. I mean, remember Druid Halloween?
Any series. You can't do that with any series.
Oh yeah, it's true. And I mean, there's gonna be one or two that are always gonna be a little bit of a clunker, but there's something to be found in there. But yeah, Scream is gonna definitely be, I'm pretty sure that's where we're gonna get compared to. Just because Scream is aware of itself. Well, slasher film isn't aware of itself. Slasher film is aware of slasher films. Slasher film is aware of. Let me use The Walking Dead as an example. You notice nobody ever says zombie because they explained in, press releases and things, they live in a world where zombie movies don't exist. Oh, okay. So it's not really Earth. Okay. Why not? I'll go, I'll play, this is a movie where one of the characters is literally you. It's the audience. And they will literally say, things that the audience, like when an audience says, yeah, don't split up. Yeah, that's what she's saying. She's like, yeah, well, first thing, we don't do that. So I literally lean into anti-slasher film stuff in slasher film. So there's going to be a lot of fun and surprises for everyone. So, and I mean, in the first 5 minutes, you're going to get that 80s vibe simply because you're going to go, oh, well, there's the stoner, there's the jock, there's the slut, there's the virgin, there's the, you know, like you pretty much will go, oh, that's who that is. You know what I mean? In the
Yeah.
first 5 minutes. And that's on purpose. That's by design. But much like my young muse had said to me, it's got, you know, that vibe of nobody's really what they seem. So I love that. I love that. I love that somebody else gave me that description. Does that make sense?
It is.
You know, because when you write something, you are too close to it. And here's the thing. I can sit here and say, oh, it's going to be great. You know what? It is going to be great to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't make the decision as the filmmaker whether the film is good or whether it's bad. And this kind of ties into the, you know, weird sequels of the bad ones that we all kind of hate or love. The audience makes the decision whether it's bad or good.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need to sort of strap in and go for the ride and invest our time and see whether or not it's a good film and or see if there's something good in it. You know, I'll give you an example from a personal perspective on that. Hereditary was a wonderfully acted, gorgeously shot, fantastic film that I fucking hate. Oh my God, I hate that movie so much. But I could watch Toni Collette deliver, in my opinion, an Oscar-worthy performance.
I agree.
A mother that's losing her family around her and going through the most amazing trauma and dealing with it like a nice repressed boomer, pushing her little feelings down into a bitter little ball of hatred, you know, like
Mhm.
it's unhinged and it's magical, but I can't watch that movie ever again because it's garbage to me.
I actually argue with people all the time. I said,
However, the
I
same
actually prefer
director's piece
Midsummer.
in Midsummer is way superior.
I love Midsummer more than I do Hereditary, and I get so much shit for that. I get
You
so
and I
much
are on
shit
the
for
same
that.
team. I think daytime horror is very, very hard to shoot. That's why I'm not giving anything away here when I say when we worked on Butchers, if you haven't seen it, um, it's a daytime horror. It's taking something familiar, you know, the crazy country and the family, right? Oh, and oh my God, it's the country family. What's going to happen? Our car broke down in the woods. And we know exactly what's going to happen, but we don't follow them. We don't follow those kids. We follow the family of killers, and that's what makes Butchers different,
That's
right?
amazing.
Everybody sort of goes, oh, it's like Wrong Turn. Well, in the sense that there's a car and that they're, you know, stuck in the woods. Sure, why not?
Hmm.
You know, I guess that's the same. I mean, you know, then we're like 2001 because we have a spaceship, and you know, it just doesn't make sense. You know, it was a weird comparison. But I mean, people are going to draw comparisons or similes, much like when I made my description of slasher film to you, and you went to Scream. You're right. It's a nice familiar space, and I'm doing that on purpose, by the way. I want you to feel familiar because I want you to know what you're getting into the second in this first 5 minutes. The only way to take the audience by surprise is to surprise them, right?
That's % true.
So how do you surprise somebody? Well, the easiest way is to make them comfortable and then twist it.
Yes.
And films in some ways, like modern horror films like The Human Centipede, goes for that cringe and cringy thought of what if that happened? Oh God, which I find hilarious because, you know, I watched the first one and I thought it was a wonderful mad scientist movie, but everybody's like, oh my God, they're pooping in each other's mouth. I'm like, they're not. They're one organism. There's only one
It
esophagus.
goes all the way through. Yep.
Yeah, they're altered humans. I feel awful for those people who are like, especially the one in the middle. By God.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's horrible. But
Mhm.
what a crazy, insane concept, right? But the second one, of course, you know, they just went and leaned into it because, you know, they just wanted to make you uncomfortable. It gives you a creep factor from a different place, though. Everybody who sees it goes, oh, because they're creeped out, but they still watched it,
Mhm.
right? There's the hardcore, crazy films like Martyrs or a Serbian film, very extreme horror, very, you know, Green Inferno style, you know,
Yes.
too much almost for some and
Visceral.
not
Yeah.
enough for others. I mean, Terrifier. I mean, we talked about it earlier. It's a slasher, but they've got easily one of the goriest scenes of all time ever in a movie that has been released as a horror movie. And as a gore hound, I go, yeah, I want to know how they did that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make a movie with that in it. It's so much fun. But I also don't want people to go, ugh, it's just this. It's just
Because
sad.
because
Me.
because one
Yeah.
of the things the one big criticism I say about Terrifier
Mhm.
is and some horror movies in that realm is there's very little character development, and it's just fucking
Yeah.
gore. So you
Well, they
you
did.
you don't know who the characters are. You don't give a fuck about them. It's
It's
just
true. That's what I loved
pieces.
about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre that I mentioned earlier is you literally hate the
You have to
quote
either like
girl at the
or
beginning because
yeah,
she's so annoying.
you got to have
And
an
you're waiting
emotion.
for her to
Well,
die.
watching a horror movie, you got to like someone or you got to love them. And
Oh
like
yeah.
the original Terrifier, you just don't care about the characters. It's just like you just don't care because there's
Yeah.
no development. They don't have their own personalities.
Well, they had established Art the Clown as sort of a cult character by doing, All Hallows Eve 1 and 2. So I feel like when they did the first Terrifier movie, rather than bringing the characters to the audience, they assumed that the audience already knew those characters. So that I feel like it was a continuation of the small stories that were told in All Hallows Eve and then built on. Unfortunately, nobody saw those other movies.
Yeah,
So they are much like you. They're like, well, this is just gore. It is if you haven't seen everything, for sure. And I mean, it isn't really a ton more because it's a bread. I feel like the character of Art the Clown in the Terrifier series is a breadcrumb horror movie. It leads you to the next one so you can get deeper and deeper to find out what the heck is this? Is it a demon? Is it a
hmm
monster? What the hell is Art the Clown? Like, and it's great because it breadcrumbs you along and it sort of brings you on a trippy acid gore trip. Reminds me of the rawness that Rob Zombie brought when he brought the House of a Thousand Corpses to us. You
yeah.
know, I mean, again, there's a modern horror film that people both are very divided on, and
Some people hate
I
it.
think
Some
House of a Thousand Corpses is wonderful. I really do.
I think it's
Um,
okay. I mean, I think that is definitely one of his
yep,
best.
and I
Best
think Devil's Rejects is
films.
a good follow-up.
Yeah,
But I think the third one, Three from Hell, unfortunately, Sid was very sick at the time, and I don't think the movie that he wanted to shoot was the movie he managed to shoot because of the character.
I actually got
Passing
to actually
away.
meet him before he passed away,
Oh,
and
he's a great guy.
yeah,
I got to
great
be
guy.
at about 10 shows. I used to run a zombie walk here in Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada. We used to raise money for the food bank and, have a big zombie walk. And we get, our hockey teams to give tickets, or I'd go to, and Sid would give me 2 or 3 autographs that I could auction off and raise money and give
Nice.
it to our food bank. So, we raised money for years doing the zombie walk, and it was a great fun thing to be able to use because I do all these horror conventions and work and or help out or work on a film or whatever in the neighborhood. Like I had that connection to it. So while other people can say, "Oh yeah, yeah," I saw them at a convention. I'm like, "Yeah, I worked with them at that convention. It's
Yeah,
a different animal," because I actually work at. I think I'm drinking my water from a Gen Con mug. We
nice.
used to have, yeah, it's a gaming convention. I worked at it for many years, and we had Ken Foree from Dawn of the Dead there. I got
Love
to
him. Nice
hang out.
guy.
Oh, what a spectacular human! And we got to talk about the importance of an African American man being essentially the hero of Dawn of the Dead.
And
Like he got,
George A. Romero. I mean,
yeah,
he did that even with the original Night of the Living
yeah,
Dead.
100%. He
Which,
was always
yeah, I
George
mean,
is a wonderful man. I've managed to spend a lot of time with him, and I have a personalized autograph that he gave me. I got to see him when he was older, and he wasn't able to sign his name anymore, barely.
mhm.
His hands were going. But he lived in Toronto, and we had many conversations. I was actually on the extras list for Land of the Dead. The only reason I didn't get it is because I don't have ACTRA credibility, and they needed a bunch of ACTRA members to get the tax credits and things all lined up. So I wasn't able to slide in and be an extra zombie. That would have been a dream. I have one. This whole arm is literally zombie tattoos.
Nice.
Yeah, we used to run zombieinfo.com for 13 years, many, many years back in the early days of the internet. We used to interview people. I was one of the people who was in the grassroots movement to get Walking Dead on the air, which is kind of how I ended up meeting Michael Koski, who's going to be in Slasher Film.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, that's a little surprise, but yeah, I got lots of zombies. There's From the Dead itself right there, but I've gotten a ton of tattoos from around the world. There's Flyboy, and that was actually tattooed in
Love
Philadelphia,
it.
or sorry, in Pittsburgh, I mean, at a Living Dead weekend.
Nice.
Fantastic, by a wonderful tattoo artist who is in that city. So it was really meaningful to me because I'm a huge zombie fan to see the history that Pittsburgh shares, and Egansville with the Living Dead series and George Romero. And let's
Yeah.
be honest, the most successful independent horror film director is John Carpenter by
100%.
because whether anyone knows it or not, Halloween at one point held the record for the most successful independent film of all time. It was beat out eventually by the Blair Witch Project through marketing and made money based on a mystery. Whereas Carpenter made it on pure terror, and I think it's fantastic that
Favorite movie.
Romero was, of course, the creator of the Night of the Living Dead, and the famous screw up of not copyrighting his film and basically having it stolen by everyone, but it was put out everywhere, so
Yeah.
it got more distribution than probably any other film in history. It changed how films were done. And George, to his credit, I mean, he'd work in the studio system and he'd do what they wanted and hated it, or then he'd be left alone to do something that he wanted to do and make something fun or that he enjoyed doing. I mean, personally, while I'm what's the current word? Stan. I'm a big, George Romero stan for sure, I guess.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it sounds stupid when I say it because I'm old. But but I mean, there's no other way to truly express the reverence that I had for this man and his ability to tell a story. And I was lucky enough to meet my heroes, and thank goodness they weren't horrible.
See, I didn't get a chance to meet George. I mean, he was definitely on my list.
He was spectacular, and I don't know how to express it because it's different when you work with the person once or twice or seen them at shows that you work at together, or that you're a neighbor, you're sort of in the trenches with them. It's different than when you see them and you're just in the lineup getting an autograph.
Yeah.
So it was a life-changing moment to meet someone of that sort of caliber and know that they're just like you. They're literally just like you. I mean, as you said earlier, the technology has come to the point where we can shoot a film on your phone.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It's phenomenal. I think it's great. But I will say, while anyone can be a filmmaker, there are very few people who can be a good filmmaker. We're back to the panhandling, and I don't know whether I'm dirt or whether I'm gold. But man, I hope you come along with us and find out.
Most definitely. But Kevin, we're going to shoot to the fun part of the interview. I'm going to ask you 3 random horror questions, okay?
Hit me. I'm believe you me when I say, well, I guess you figured it out, but I'm a horror fan.
So do you want the hardball first, or do you want to go with the soft ones?
See, the ego in me makes me want to go, give me the hard stuff, give it to me, but let's have a lob. Let's get a practice swing in.
So you're a huge zombie fan. What is your favorite zombie film, modern zombie film of the last 10 years?
In the last 10 years, it's got to be, wow, this is a great question because we had a glut, almost too much of the zombie genre. So there was a lot of chaff to get through on that. With modern ones, they usually go for the speed, or they usually go for the the frenzy, and I'd say that Zack Snyder's remake of Dawn of the Dead was spectacular, which was shot, by the way, just down the road at Quinte Mall.
Nice.
When I say down the road, it's like 4 hours for me, but it's still I would say my favorite modern zombie horror film has to be La Horde, which is just a French film, but they renamed it The Horde, because it literally has the frenetic feeling of a video game, or like the Raid, or Dread, get to the top of the building and get away from the zombies kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
you know um so it's probably the best newish one that I would say is, or see, then you've got the Sadness and you have Train to Busan. So though, like,
Yeah.
there's such different flavors.
Yep.
My personal favorite, though, I have to say, because La Horde was so unique at the time it hit, and I believe it's within the 10-year time frame.
Yes.
So I would have to say, if it's in the last 10 years and La Horde is in that thing, it's La Horde. But Train to Busan is oh, wow.
Train to Busan is so
good.
I actually posted a question, like, I want to say it was a couple months ago, and I said, I asked this question, what is your favorite zombie movie in the last 10 years? And I actually posted in the Night of the Living Dead convention group, the one
Right.
that's their actual Facebook group. And I got to see, people put down Train to Busan. Of course, Train to Busan was
Over and over again.
It was number one. La Horde, I saw a couple of those. Some people said Alive, and I was like, holy shit! I'd never seen any of these foreign zombie movies. So I actually sat down and I watched a couple of them. I watched La Horde. I watched Alive. I also watched Train to Busan. Train to Busan is
The Dead. The Dead is the it's set in Sahara. Now, granted, the lead actor, I think he's from South Africa, so his accent is a bit weird and it's a bit difficult to understand sometimes what he's saying. But he's also not the best actor in the world, but the rest of the cast is spectacular. They're all amazing.
Okay, I'm putting it down.
And the first one takes place in the Sahara Desert, and the Dead Part 2 is set in the same time frame, but it's in India. And let me tell you, and there's a couple of interesting ones, like Juan of the Dead, and you're in America, correct?
Yep.
So it's interesting. Juan of the Dead is a film that was shot in Cuba. And interesting side note, they went with all the body parts and everything packed in their luggage.
Really?
Yeah. Now, they didn't get their luggage searched because Cuba is not, it's not X-ray machines and all the modern convenience that we're all used to. But it's very, antiquated in that sense. And they were just hoping that they wouldn't open and find all these body parts.
Yeah,
and they filmed it in Cuba. And,
nice.
and without Cuba's knowledge, which is, by the way, bad idea. You shouldn't do it, blah, blah, blah. But man, I'm super proud that as a guerrilla filmmaker, they got it done.
Nice.
It's so cool. So Juan of the Dead is another fun, but that's fun.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously making fun of Shaun of the Dead. But yeah, there's some amazing foreign films giving us some amazing horror these days.
Yes, amazing. And
have you seen some of the weird, Scandinavian things that are on like Netflix?
Oh yeah, I've always been a fan of those, but but for the zombies, I've always thought in my mind, it's like, I don't want to, because I was a huge zombie fan when I was a kid. I was like, America makes zombies movies the best, and like there was
they make them the most interestingly, I will say, because you can say, oh yeah, they make the best zombie films. Well, yeah, but you also have one of the highest populations on the planet, so by proxy, like
it was going
per capita, even
yes,
per capita, you're gonna have many more crappy ones.
Yes, and
nobody talks about those.
And definitely in the late 90s and 2000s, there was tons of crappy zombie movies being thrown out there.
So many.
Tons.
There was some good ones though. Like I found one out of England from Black and Blue, was the production company. They did a fast zombie one, and I know there's always a big debate on fast zombies, slow zombies, especially with me because I ran Zombie Info for so long. I always believe that they should absolutely be fast in the first 72 hours. And then rigor hits in and then they're slow. That's how I see it. You know what I mean? And I mentioned that to George actually, because he's obviously the godfather. He's like, no, they're dead. They're slow. And I totally respect and understand the logic behind it. And I said, well, and I told him my thought. And he said, you know what? That's actually pretty. He said, I would stomach that, is what he said. I would stomach that. But no, he's not a fan of the fast offbeat.
Okay.
But Black and Blue did it. I can't remember what the name of it was. I'm trying to remember, but basically it was a performance enhancing drug for sports people, like a steroid
Mhm.
that mutated and essentially made people into zombies, right? So I thought that was clever.
Nice.
It was a unique
That's a
take.
creative idea.
Yeah, it was a creative way to sort of make the zombie apocalypse happen and have them fast. Parkour
Yeah.
zombies kind of a little too much, but
Yeah.
But yeah, give me a hard one. Let's
All right. Is it a hard one? All right. So listen. So I'm a huge horror convention fan. I've been to quite a few. I filmed them on my channel. Walkthroughs on my channel. I did one of my first videos I did was 5 things I hate about horror conventions. Right. Give me 3 things that you can't stand about horror conventions.
About horror conventions?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm gonna actually broad brush, and it starts with really all conventions. I have a big problem, and it's probably because I'm old. I remember the days when people would charge a reasonable amount for an autograph photo, and I remember when somebody had a certain level of popularity, they would have lineups out the door, and I will go right back to our good friend Sid Haig, who was at Scaricon in Verona, New York, and I was vending there for zombieinfo.com. And actually, that's one of the shows where I met Michael Koski like years ago. So, which ties back into slasher film. Holy shit, what a circle. Anyway, so Sid was his photo was I think he's $20. I think it was only ever $20 or $10 maybe. I can't remember if it was 10 or 20. But I said to him, I said, Sid, you're crazy popular. What are you doing? You could be making more money. And he went, do me a favor, will you? Look over there at Herline. And there was a Hollywood actor who had starred in a couple of films, but I think they were more concerned about what they were putting either up their nose or in their body than they were about being at a horror convention and entertaining fans. Allegedly, by the way, allegedly.
Yes.
I'm not going to say their name because that's a shitty thing to do.
Mhm.
So, they might be having a rough time in their life. So, I don't know their story, so I'm not going to assume I do. But I am going to say that they were horrible to their fans, and that's inexcusable. Sid said, take a look at her line. And he goes, now take a look at my line. Her line, by the way, had 0. She was charging, I think, $60 for just even to talk to her or
Mhm.
something. It's just, it was a crazy amount for the time that they were signing. And his was, reasonable. And you know what? To the day he died, he never increased his prices ever. And he always had gigantic lineups because he spent time and talked to every single person. He knows why he's on this side of the table because we, as horror fans, are on the other side of the table. So, number one thing I can't stand: price gouging for autographs. And that's either by the convention side, or the unfortunate side product is, because we're all used to it now, $100 for an autograph, that's pretty good. Well,
Yeah.
no, it's not.
It's
No,
expensive.
it's not.
Yeah.
$100 can feed me for a week. Like, come on. So that's number one. Number two, multi-day conventions are awesome. And I love when there's events and there's things outside of just standing in a room and spending your money. Although that's fun too, because I'm buying stuff I like and I'm meeting people I like. I like screenings. I like variety. So in a horror convention, you usually have these things. You usually have a makeup thing. There's always a panels that you can attend. There's always something to do.
Mhm.
So scheduling, though, there's always an overlap with some really cool stuff. So you miss a lot of stuff. And they do that on purpose, I think, so that you'll come to the next one. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that I hate it, because it's one of those things. But as a side product of that, because you're at the show a lot, you're moving around a lot, you're having a good time, all that stuff. Sometimes basic things that we forget to do for ourselves. I'm sure that everybody in the entire channel has forgotten to drink enough water and their knees hurt because they were at a show for a day, or they didn't have a banana for their, potassium, and they, felt rough, or they felt, and I've been kind of skirting it because there's no way to say it nicely. Personal hygiene takes a back seat.
That's on my list.
That's
the number 2.
That's number 2 for me.
That's it. Hygiene. That's in my top 5.
Yeah, and you know what? Back when I was at Gen Con, which is a gaming convention where you could game 24 hours, as a marketing idea back in the old days when Magic the Gathering was really, really popular, we actually had floated an idea to make a product that was in the gift bags they used to give away. It was going to be a bar of soap with a sealed plastic Magic card inside, so you'd wash your way to the rare. Because unfortunately it never took off. I thought it was a great idea. However, there was no way to really broach it without being offensive.
Because I got so much shit for that for that one on my list. That's 1 out of 2. And people were like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never smelled anybody at a horror convention, this and that, blah, blah. And I'm like, thinking myself, like, it's probably you then.
Oh, that's funny and hilarious. However, and I might use that in another movie, by the way. I'm gonna steal the idea. Yeah. It's right here, kids. I'm stealing the idea. But here's the thing: there is no easy way to bring up someone's failings, whether that's in, if they have a stutter, or if, but I mean, you still have to deal with it in some way. So the only way to deal with things is to talk about them. And unfortunately, in an age where everybody gets offended about everything, it's difficult to raise it properly. I think if people of my generation would just sit around and listen to young people, they would be able to learn how to ask those questions, because realistically, it's about consent. And making sure it's okay with the person to invade their privacy, or say, hey man, you stink.
Yeah.
So that there's one way to do it. Or you could say, hey man, as a fellow, fan, I need to tell you, you should hit your hotel room, freshen up a little bit.
Yes.
It's like telling somebody they need a Tic Tac. Brother, you need a Tic Tac was always code for your breath stink, go wash your teeth.
100%. If anybody ever asks you for mint, if you like a mint or gum, they're telling you that your breath stinks.
Or if they say, hey man, I have some gum, would you like some? You really need to take some. Yes. I mean, and then let's be honest, if it's you and me hanging out at a horror convention and we're boys, I'm going to tell you, I'll be like, brother.
Yeah, your breath smells. You're something. Yeah.
You are not going to be a popular boy if you keep that in your mouth. It's just.
And it's close quarters too. You know what I mean? Like, convention is close quarters.
Well, I mean, we all want to get close to our fan. We want to get close to Felicia and talk about Sleepaway Camp. Which, by the way, I actually pitched a 5-minute short film of Sleepaway Camp, the remake.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, and Felicia, by the way, adored it. The sun comes up over the camp. It's a wonderful day. We'll have Felicia Rose as the head counselor. Why not? A little nod back to her, right? And in comes, Billy. Hey, where's Andrew today? Where's Andrew at? I haven't seen him. And Felicia Rose's character would literally be like, oh, Andrew prefers to go by Angela. And he'd be like, okay, where's Angela? And then it would be the credits, because that's the whole movie. Nobody would give a shit. Like, there's no twist, there's no killing, there's no,
Yeah.
Although I will say that because Sleepaway Camp has that crazy shock ending in the time it was made, now it'd be like, oh man, your stuff is out. Like,
yeah, it's
nobody would care. No. So, I mean, but they miss the single. There's 2 amazing lines by her cousin Frankie in the film, and these are films, and these are the lines that must be brought back. So I'll say them now so that people can get them in their minds and use them in their conversation. That's eat shit and die, Bill. Eat shit and live. Eat shit and live, Bill. When he says eat shit and die, Frankie, eat shit and live, Bill. What a great insult. It's one of the greatest things ever. And he actually did as a kid, he's swearing like a fucking sailor. He's like, "Fuck you, you fucking fuck," which was amazing when you were like, a kid in the 80s. You were like,
Because in that movie,
woo!
it was all kids.
Oh
It was
yeah,
a
and it was
lot of,
spectacular. You
yeah.
know, so I feel like because of the shock ending and Felicia's, obvious, acting talents in the time, because she was quite a good actor as a child, and now, I mean, she's a
Yeah.
wonderful woman. But I mean, it was, you get to see so much in how kids kind of interacted with each other back then when
Yeah.
you're watching other scenes. So, and the third and final thing I hate about horror conventions, I feel like when a horror convention comes to town, other conventions crop up and try to basically undermine them. I always feel like there's a Comic-Con or there's a market or
Why is that,
something.
by the way? I've actually noticed that recently. Like,
Well, it
if there's a
feels
horror
like
convention, this is
conventions
something.
are trying to put their hands in everybody's pocket. So I feel like, yes, we understand it's the movie business, it's the horror business. We understand that. But as horror fans, we're not like the rest of your fans. Like comic guys will, spend $7,000 on a comic book, no problem, because they know the value of that particular issue or that particular, collectible. Star Wars fans will literally line up for days and miss 27 important events to get to the one event that they came to see.
Yeah.
They will literally line up for days. I once, because the company I worked for actually ran Star Wars Celebration 2, 3, and 4, I worked with Lucasfilm for 3 years. And in that time, it was conventions, so it wasn't, making films. So don't let me come off like I'm making fucking Star Wars up in here. If I did, I'd make the zombie fucking
Yeah,
stormtrooper
Star
movie.
Wars.
That's what I would do. But I know I was in the convention stuff, and I was in operations, and I was lucky enough to work with a lot of very nice, and I miss Carrie Fisher. I really do. She was a wonderful woman. I loved her. She was literally Space Mom, and because I got to work with her for a couple of shows and spend a lot of time with her, I was kind of close to her. And I was also close to Richard LaParameter, who played Admiral Motti, the guy who gets choked out by Vader in the first one. He was also in Rollerball, by the way. Spectacular movie with James Caan back in the 70s. But, I got to be very close with some people. Daniel Logan, who plays Boba Fett in the new trilogy, is a friend of mine. I helped him and his family when he first came to North America. I was the one assigned to pick him up and handle, his day-to-day stuff. So I did. And I taught him how to handle autograph hounds and things like that. And now he does the conventions, and he has his own business, and he's voice actor for the clones, and I mean, he's doing great. I love that guy. I managed to be friends with some people that I would never get that opportunity. Sorry, I'm getting off track.
No, you're good.
Those conventions, though, they pop up around when a horror convention seems to come on, and I feel like everybody's dipping into everyone's pockets. And as horror fans, it's tough to watch some of the best shows go away. I mentioned Scaricon. It was one of my favorite shows to do every single year. I literally would come from Canada across into America, travel down to the indigenous territory where the casino was held in Verona, and I would go to the Scaricon show, and I would live there for days. The hotel was there too, by the way, so it wasn't a big effort to live there.
Yeah.
but I mean, the parties. I mean, that's where I got to be. Well, I'm again. Here we go. Right back to slasher film, but that's where I met Michael, who became a good friend. Came up to Canada, stayed at my house for a little while. He was up here, in a rough time that he was, between work, and he ended up coming up and working at a convention up here that I was vending at, and I just stuck him at my table and let him do his thing, and he was like so amazing with everybody. And I said, we're gonna make a movies together someday, and he said, yeah, we definitely are. And here we are, 6 years later, 7 years. Well, I mean, yes, we had the pandemic.
Yeah. Let's scratch that out. That never happened. Yeah.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, it was time. We were literally in the middle of filming a little short. I like to film shorts a lot because I feel like it keeps me limber, keeps me in the pocket as a director and a writer. And I like to get, little tiny fun ideas out, to the point where I might even actually be looking to develop a little tiny horror series for one of the
Nice.
media companies. We'll see. We'll see. It's nothing's locked or anything. That's just me waxing poetic. It's not me saying anything factual. So don't let me bullshit you. And that's the other thing I'm trying to do with slasher film. I'm literally trying to make a film as open and honest with both the public and my actors and the people who are making it with me. I'm literally saying, like, if there's no money to make something, I'm going to be like, well, we don't have the money for that. Do we want to move forward and keep, working towards making it? Because that's where we're at. There are movies that have been made over time. We talked about some really good and really bad ones that are foreign. And if you haven't seen this movie, by the way, get a pen. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm old school. Get a pen.
And I'm old school and I carry a pen, so.
And you put down the name Undead by the Sperrig Brothers. The Sperrig Brothers became little Hollywood darlings for a tiny bit. Did a movie with Sam Neill called Daybreakers about vampires ruling the world, and a couple other films. And they're wonderful people. They made this crazy film called Undead. It's about a fisherman named Marion. Yes, that's his name, who apparently knows gun fu, and at his fishing shop somehow has 1 million guns. There's no way to explain this movie. The cover is usually a dark hat with 3 shotguns connected to each other like a super shotgun. I'm telling you, this movie is spectacular. And I got to meet the directors, and I got to meet Mungo Mackay, who played the Marion the Fisherman. He gave me a very special prop. There is a scene in which Marion the Fisherman is in a shop, and he's kind of badass. He's got spurs on his boots, and he's got overalls and this dark hat and these crazy weapons. He does a backflip, jams the spurs into the door frame above him, and upside down swings into a room and shoots a bunch of zombies.
Nice.
And in that scene, there were 37 shells expelled from the guns. It's 37 shots. It's insane. It's amazing, by the way. He gave me one of the shells and he signed it because I suggested that he be brought in for a convention that I was working at in Australia, because he lived just down the road. And he thought, well, nobody's going to come see me. And then he saw his popularity with horror fans, which gets me right back to the horror fans being grassroots. It's the grassroots
100%.
horror fans that actually, when Hollywood finds out that we actually like each other, we're like metal fans. Like when we're in the pit, we're going to look out for each other as horror fans. That's the thing I love about, if you were asking me 3 things I loved about horror conventions, it's that. I love that if there's a after party and we're all out drinking and one of us has had too much, well, they're at the convention, you'll make sure they get back to their hotel,
Yes.
because we look out for each other. We don't know each other.
Horror fans are like, I
They're
also
like
did a
family.
video for 5 groups of people, horror fan goers that I can't stand. But that is like a small percentage of the group, And I even said that's a small percentage of the group. I mean,
There's people in the horror scene that I can't stand.
yes, but
I
they're
am
small,
not the
but it's
biggest
such a
fan.
small
Yeah,
percentage.
yeah, exactly. I'm not the biggest fan of a guy who does a lot of horror conventions because I don't like his style of film. It's very garbagey. It's basically he hires strippers and puts them in the woods.
And that guy is announced, and he's one of the 5.
Oh, is he one of your 5? Which name is he?
No, I didn't give a name. I didn't give a name. I just said it's the I call him the horror indie movie guy who's at every single convention that you go to.
Every show. And you know what? The one thing that I will say though, I respect the hustle.
That is a hustle.
The only thing that I don't respect is, and I don't know how to say this without appearing like I'm not being mean to him. He has his audience. He's got his fans. So, because again, art is subjective and people are going to love it. The audience decides ultimately. And
I actually own one of his movies and one of his t-shirts autographed.
I think, he's got a couple of funny titles and things too. So, but I watched a film festival from the outside because I was at my booth, and I literally watched people just leaving in droves on this film. And I was thinking, do I feel bad or am I being smug and going, aha, your stuff's crap? You know what? At the end of the day, when I just talk to him one on one, he comes off as a very smart and intelligent person. The only thing is, as soon as a third person arrives or any kind of audience, he's a lot like, do you remember when you were a little kid and there was that one kid in your group of friends? He wasn't really a friend, but he would go into the room of the adults and he would basically shit his pants to get attention.
Hmm.
That's that kid.
Well, what? Okay, I'm gonna bounce on that, but he's that guy who's a friend of yours. You have a friend that is cool as shit around you when it's just you and him one on one, and then
Yep.
you invite some other friends in, then he starts treating you like shit.
Yeah. And
He's
it's like,
yeah.
dude, what is happening right now?
Yeah, and that's my
Oh
Ryan.
yeah.
I had a guy in the group. His name was Ryan. That's what he was. I mean, he was shitty when other people was around.
But one on one, that dude was
One on one,
solid,
cool as
right?
shit, hanging
Yeah.
out, cool as shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I refer to him.
So that kind of thing, I don't like it when people are duping the fans, you know what I mean? In
Yeah.
any way, shape, or form, whether it's a shill to, get your money, to get their, money out of your pocket, which again, we're not dumb. We know it's the horror business, but be reasonable, and we're going to be reasonable.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. And it's so yeah, I'd say those are, you know,
That's funny
definitely.
that you've hit someone's because I just refer. This is before I started interviewing indie filmmakers, right? I refer to him as the shitty movie convention guy. That's what I refer to him as. I don't, and I'm assuming that people who go to conventions know what I'm talking about. But
Yeah,
but
I know
but to a lot
exactly
of
who you're
colleges,
talking
they know
about.
exactly what I'm talking about.
However, like I said, this style of filmmaking though, and that's the other thing. I don't know if it's a First Amendment thing for America or just a need to get whatever crazy thing is in your brain out. But his films are a lot like, like I said, like the kid who poops his pants to get attention.
Mhm.
It's but he still gets attention. So
Yeah, I mean,
I guess
listen.
it's working.
At
I
the
don't
end of the
You
day,
can't
I
fault it.
own. At the end of the
And
day,
and
I
I'm
hate.
in a weird city. So here's an interesting fact about where I live.
Hmm.
Where I live, I would say 90 to, well, at least 80% of all Hallmark and Christmas movies,
Hmm.
or Hallmark Christmas movies, they're made in a little tiny town less than an hour from here called
Really?
Almont. Yeah, Almont. They even made a joke about it on Saturday Night Live. Franco was on, and he plays like, it's on one of the episodes that Franco was a host. So you'd have to
Mhm.
look it up. But yeah, just look up Hallmark and James Franco on Saturday Night Live, and you'll probably find the thing that I'm talking about. They literally even say, we'll take you to the same gazebo you've seen in 17 movies, stuff like that, because they dress the town, but they can only shoot it so many ways, right?
Yeah.
Like, put it this way, there's a Canadian town in rural Ontario that has an American flag on its city hall because it's just easier to leave it there for all the films that come through and film. I just, and it's no disrespect to America,
But
but Hallmark likes it when their films are set in any town USA,
yeah.
but shoot them in any time Canada because they can get tax credits and their money goes further because of the exchange rate and all that. So you
Hmm.
can't fault them for utilizing what the opportunities are in front of them. And in no way am I downplaying anybody's work in those films,
No,
if you're going to call them films. To me,
but they have an audience.
I call them service jobs. My mother-in-law, who's 89, loves them. You know,
Yeah, they
I
have an audience.
and I've worked on a ton of those, by the way. So I'm in no way flipping my nose up at anyone who works on them or anyone who does them. It's work, and I respect it. And it also teaches you the craft of filmmaking.
Yes.
So when you're an independent filmmaker, you can make your film any way you want. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? You can make it, easy. You can make it hard. You can do whatever you want. Um, Obviously, money is a factor, which is why, of course, I'm promoting in my Indiegogo so hard. But it's not everything. Remember, money doesn't make movies. People make movies, and that,
Exactly.
by the way, is a quote of Adrian Langley, not me. But it's things that he taught me over the years because he was my mentor when I was learning how to direct and how I would do things. So I worked with him for many years. I can't lie about it. I can't hide it because, my name's on every single movie that he's putting out these days
Yeah.
in some way. Like, I mean, I was an associate producer, which if you know what that is, on Butchers 2, Raghorn, it just is coming out very soon. Um, that's not a full producer. That's basically somebody who's there to work a little harder than the average production assistant. My friend says it nicely. He says the only difference between an AP and a PA is the order of the letters.
Yeah.
So as an associate producer on Raghorn, I worked on set doing everything that needed doing to, get us through the days. Some days that was, well, I remember one day I cooked barbecue for the whole crew,
Nice.
but that's what we needed to do. We didn't have anybody to do it, so I did it. We had an actor show up on set, and we needed some stuff in town, which was about a half an hour drive away. So I got my car and I'd go and get stuff. It's the hustle and flow of filmmaking. Sometimes I held a boom pole. Sometimes I ran for cast back and forth for makeup, doing AD work. But in all of those crappy little horror movies that I, was helping, or, the ones that might even turn out great, I've learned something, and I've learned things, what to do and what not to do. I took a movie role as an actor in a film that is god awful and hilarious, and the reason why I did it is because of its title.
What's the title? What's the title? You like to say it?
Jurassic Shark.
Oh, see, I love it already. I love it.
As soon as he said the title, I went. I literally was on the phone with the filmmaker. His name's Brett Kelly, and he said, Kev, I got this role for you. It's a shark movie. I know that you, because I had done a couple of films with him. I was in something called Prey for the Beast, which was one of the puppeteers of The Thing was doing the creature effects for that. So I wanted to be a part of it. It wasn't great, but it was fun. It was so much fun. Oh my God, it was fun to make. But you learn something. Well, I don't know if I'd do it this way. Maybe I'd do it that way. Even if you learn what not to do, there's an experience there.
It's a piece.
Yeah. And I remember I showed up on set. Now, the funny thing is I told him I'm available on this particular weekend. And he went, okay, perfect, because we're going to shoot. I said, wonderful. So we drove out. I set up some stuff. I helped, get stuff done because, again, when you're indie, many hands make light work. So one of the rules on film set is never go anywhere empty-handed, right? Mm-hmm. And that, by the way, is a great way to go through life, because if you're in, the basement and you go, oh, I'm going to need that later on when I'm barbecuing. Well, and you go up to go to the bathroom. Well, take it upstairs with you. Put it by the door. You know what I mean? Save a bit of money, of energy. My father used to say these crazy things like, use your head, save your feet. Now I get it.
It makes sense.
Who knew? But, as I'm saying, you've got, sorry, I got a little sidetracked there. I've disconnected.
You're talking about Jurassic Shark?
Jurassic Shark, right. And the director came over to me. It was great. Here's your script. So it's a bit different on his set because he's not as driven by process. Things like giving an actor a script and, having them read for it is probably a good idea.
Yeah.
And I'm terrible, by the way. I'm god awful in it. Just don't yourself. But it's called Jurassic Shark. I die in the trailer. Really? Just go look at the trailer. And I think actually on the IMDb, I think because I was in the movie, it linked that trailer to my IMDb. But I didn't make that movie. I was just in it for literally that day. He actually had intended to make me the main villain of it. And I went, no, I told you I'm available this weekend, like today and tomorrow. That's it. And he went, oh, because again, he didn't read anyone. He just had his friends show up and
just shut the rolls.
And I mean, it's on tons of streaming places and all this stuff, and it was on video, back in the DVD days, and it definitely got around. But I think it was named Attack of the Jurassic Shark in a few markets, and
because they got multiple different names for
yeah, it's got a bunch of different names around the world. But I'm in those movies, and yeah, I can sit here and go, oh my God, you know, I was young and dumb. I'm old and dumb. Um, and I know that that movie was, you know, I mean, it's called Jurassic Shark, you know.
You know what you're getting.
Yeah, exactly. That's why when I was developing my own film, I really wanted to pay homage to both the good and bad. So there's moments in the film that will bring you to the edge of your seat in, you know, hopefully a good way. And then there's going to be moments where you're like, "Are you serious?" And we address it. We lean into it. We totally get into it,
Good.
you
Good.
know. So I think like I said, I think there's something for everyone, but I can't make that decision for everyone out there. I All I can do is tell you this. I am so driven to put so much of myself into this film. And no, I didn't go on a murder spree, but every character and everything that happens, well, yet,
Yes.
you know, but it every character is a part of, like, one part of my personality. Um, because when I was writing, the thing that was imparted to me over the years was put yourself into things. And when I was making music, I wanted to invoke emotion and I wanted to get people into things. So I would create characters and then I would write those songs from those characters' perspective,
Mhm.
right? To make it have a note of realism. I wrote a song years ago about it's called "Make You Love Me." In fact, it was used in My Fair Zombie by Brett Kelly, which is a cute zombie movie,
Mhm.
and it's an indie. It's fun. I'm not in it, but my music is, and
Yeah.
yeah, and it's fun. It's a fun movie. Um, Ironically, the girl who played the zombie is a movie producer up here and makes a lot of the movie of the weeks and Hallmarks and things like that.
Nice.
Yeah,
It
she
goes
started up
full
a
circle.
company. Well, that's the thing, you know, you all these things sort of interconnect because you never know when you're helping out on an indie film where that road's going to take you. I
Mhm.
have been blessed, and I have worked with people like Michael Keaton and Michelle Monaghan um, on films like, you know, I think it's called Blindsided now. It was called Penthouse North back in the day. I To this day, I still chit chat through, you know, social media to Michelle. She's a wonderful woman. She remembers everyone on set, including people who are watching the door. Like, she's magic. I've never met a more
Amazing.
personable person. And then as soon as somebody calls action, boom, she's in the character. And it's
On it.
spectacular to watch. And then I've seen people who do method, and you know, you can't talk to them and you leave them alone because they're trying to get into that headspace. You know, it's a cool thing to watch, you know. And but then I've also worked with, you know, my buddy down the road who played, you know, because there was
Yeah.
nobody else to play it.
He just
But there's
jumped in
merit.
and he did what he had to do.
Well, there's merit in every single thing in any creative endeavor. Okay, so I'm going to get a little personal here. I don't have children, and I am likely not to have children unless I just don't know about you. And if it's you, don't
I
contact me. I
did.
don't have any money. I know I'm making a movie, but I have no money. That's why I'm asking for money anyway. But no, I don't have kids, and you know, my mother unfortunately passed at a very young age. Um, so I never, you know, but she always would tell me, "Oh, you're going to regret not having kids. You know, you won't have someone like you in your life." And I went, "Oh, you don't understand. I have someone like me in my life. It's me, and it's a nightmare." Uh, so she would always say things like, you know, that your kids are going to listen to some old music someday, and they're going to hear my voice. Your kids are going to watch a movie on streaming or on Hollow or on ThoughtWeb or wherever the fuck is going on at that point,
Mhm.
and they're going to see my name in the credits. I have been attached to Eli Roth's Clown. I'm the on-set medic,
Nice.
you know, and I worked with, you know, Bill Stamari, who is a wonderful Satan in Constantine with Keanu Reeves. But you know, I got to work with him and hang out with him and chit chat and, well, have a little wine. I might add, you know, not on set, not while we were working. Exactly. I want to say that he's professional. Um, but I mean, you know, and I've worked with, well, you know, Jurassic Shark,
Yeah.
where you literally see me in the trailer stand up in ankle deep water and a gigantic shark eats me.
I'm gonna watch the trailer now.
It's spectacular. It's spectacular. It's so terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. Not the kind of movie that I'm going to make, though. Someday, I actually have a script that I hope to do that is kind of that weird, bad monster movie style.
Mhm.
It's about a robot designed to go up to the front lines and help the military to deliver supplies to, dangerous places, because it can get shot at and it can get,
Mhm.
damaged. But it runs on a biological power resource, like basically it grinds up sticks and leaves and stuff. And it accidentally, it has a sensor. So if you have a pulse or temperature or whatever, you are alive and it doesn't harm you, right? Oh, first law of robotics.
Yeah.
Right. However, somebody dies in a test, and well, it discovers that inert material as the best source of power. So it becomes, instead of Combot, it becomes Zombot, So
Love
yeah,
it.
I want to make that someday. And I have this proof of concept trailer for something. You remember the stupid animal ones, like Sharknado and all that kind of stuff?
All those good ones.
Yeah, they're terrible. God, awful.
They're bad, but they're
I
fun.
want to make one based off of a word. We made a little action film a few years ago, and me and the DOP, who was Nick Wilson, he gave me this idea that we should make. It's basically, Ontario, we can shoot it in the woods, that kind of thing. Man is encroaching, building houses on nature's, space,
Mhm.
and pushing the bears further and further up the mountain. And one of them slips and falls and catches all the other bears in its wake and becomes Bear Avalanche, which is fucking stupid, by the way. But
Which is
I would love to
stupid,
do it
but
as a trailer. I'd love to just do it as a trailer and just get a bunch of people
do it as a trailer.
rolling around. So stupid. And
I mean-
and I said, and then we can do a sequel. And I turned to him, and this, of course, just kicked off the giggles with us. Yeah, it pushes them to the lake into the arms of Piranhasaurus. Roar! Like,
if you think about it,
but it's so stupid, but it's funny. But I mean, I want to make something like that for fun.
Yeah. But if you think about Thanksgiving
now, I'm making a serious horror movie. Like, I'm gonna try to scare the shit out of you in ways that you haven't seen in years from a slasher film. So know that while I've talked about some pretty hokey stuff, that's because it's fun, and honestly, being scared is fun. It is. But it's difficult for people who are really into horror to find something that truly unnerves them. I would say for myself, I'm not the biggest fan of badly done ghost movies. However, I would say The Ring, or Ringu from the original Japan, spectacular, and it unnerved me. It put me off kilter when I watched it, and I thought, wow, what a great experience this movie was. And in the new movies, I come back full circle, as I was saying earlier. It Follows teaches the audience something that it hasn't seen in a long time, because we live in an age where with the internet has essentially become mainstream, right? I was there when it wasn't. So I watched it become what the internet is today.
You too.
Right? It used to be the Wild West. It's getting more and more locked down, more and more tightened, more and more advertising, more and more owned. Pay attention. Where's the money? That's what you need to follow. Once in a while, you'll find these little glimmers that'll come through, right? You'll find these little tiny things that'll happen that you go, wow, that taught me something new. But because our generation was essentially bombarded with what they call the YouTube generation.
Yep.
After us, we're Gen X. We don't give a shit. Whatever. That's pretty much our whole mantra. But the millennial and zennial generations, they don't watch movies the way we do. They watch content, right? So how do you get somebody who's into content, which we're actually making right now? The irony is insane. But how do you get someone who watches content to watch a movie? You make it quick cuts. You make it this way, that way.
I'm about to say, because even like YouTube, like
But
even
but
art.
let me finish
Mhm.
the
Okay.
thought on that before you get too far, because it will distract from it.
Yeah.
It Follows taught us to go as soon as the audience knows, and I'm not going to ruin it for anybody who hasn't watched it yet. You should. It's wonderful. As soon as you find out what it is, you spend the entire audience or the entire movie no longer looking at this much of the frame. You start watching this because you want to know where's it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So to me, that was an exciting new way to tell a story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to unnerve the audience, because what they did was they provided different you were always darting around looking for it, trying to figure out where it was in the screen. And then when you go back and watch it, you can actually see it a few times before you were meant to see it, because it's planted, right?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't see it. They fooled you. It's wonderful. It Follows and A Quiet Place, I would dare say, are the two finest films, because what It Follows did for your eyes and expanded you to the whole frame. Um, A Quiet Place does that for your ears. It literally expands. Like when you're sitting there, I found myself in the theater literally on the edge of my seat, leaning in, trying to hear everything that was happening. Why am I leaning forward? It's a surround sound theater. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, but I realized at that moment, holy shit, they got me. I'm on the edge of my seat and I want to
Engaged.
know.
You're
I'm not
engaged.
checking my phone. I'm not, like, you've got me. And this is so fucking good when it happens. It's like getting that really good piece of pizza,
Yep.
from the place that you always get it from, and they just are hitting on all cylinders and you just love that slice. That's
Yep.
how I felt with those
And
two films.
what I was gonna say was that's something that you're great. I'm considered an old millennium, right? Because I was born in
Elder
'82.
Millennial. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
When?
And
You were born when?
'82.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm considered an old millennium.
Yeah. You're an
So
elder millennial, like
yes, elder.
Elder Schlesinger. Yeah. You're on the edge of Gen X. And depending on who your
Exactly.
kids, here's the stupid part. Everybody blames, the millennials. Oh my God, the millennials are so terrible. Hey fucker, you raised them.
Yep.
Think about it.
100%.
Whose fault is it? It's yours. So
100%.
figure it out.
But
This is why I love being
we've
Gen
had
X. I don't give a fuck.
yeah. But we have a short fucking attention span, and
We do.
the Gen Z is after us. They have even a shorter fucking attention span. Like for instance, this interview, if they're watching, they've done checked out at this point because
Oh yeah, this is a two-parter if you end up,
yeah,
doing it up.
yeah, this is definitely anybody who's watching this right now is definitely a Gen X or older.
Well,
Because
I yes and no, because I'm going to say I'm biased because she's my goddaughter.
Mhm.
Because while I don't have children, other friends have, and well, they somehow thought I was responsible enough to raise them if something happened to them. So here I am. My goddaughter is Gen Z. She's got 70,000 followers, and she's into the EDM culture and the festival culture, and shuffling. So she dances a lot. So she jiggles when she dances. So she's very popular.
yeah,
I know that she's popular because she's actually good at it. But
Mhm.
I also know that there's a percentage of her followers who are there to watch her jiggle. I get it.
Mhm.
She is now understanding, I think, more and more, the realities of the planet. And she's literally said, things to me like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to work at that bar anymore because it's so much like high school and I don't really need that in my life anymore. I'm out of high school. And I'm going, holy crap. Yes, you are.
Mm.
She's so wonderful. She's so smart. I'm so proud of her. She's had a crazy journey because she has, if you haven't noticed, and I'm sure the people who are listening are going, God, that guy, he must be on cocaine. I am diagnosed ADHD. Surprise. I am diagnosed with a few isms,
Mhm.
and sometimes I get excitable about things, and she shares that. But I have 30 years on her. So I can say, hey, I know exactly what you're going through. And I explain it, how it happened to me. And she goes, oh my God, that's exactly what's happening. Because again, she's diagnosed ADHD and some of the same isms that I have. So we share that. and it's such a magical thing because she's 2 generations away from me.
Yeah.
2, really.
Yeah.
I'm Papa Kev. I'm the godfather, and she's Gen Z. She's in all the new stuff. She actually did a small role in The Legend of Joseph Goody, which is the short film or proof of concept for slasher film. The reason why she's in it is because when I did a short film called Polarity for a digital film festival competition that I was invited to participate in, I used her in one of my first short films. It's actually available on YouTube. You can find it. It's I like it, but I made it. So, and I'm proud of it, even though it's one of my earlier ones. Because I like the challenge. It was a film challenge, and I did that festival a few times just because I love to be challenged. I was challenged to come up with a film based on a elementary school's school age child's work, but that child must be 18 now. So you can't just go to a kid and go, "Hey kid, write me a zombie movie." You know what I mean? Like, you can't do that. So it had to be an adult now. One filmmaker in the competition was brilliant, and they used The Diary of Anne Frank. What a genius. Holy crap, that was a good idea. They used that work because it was written when she was in elementary school. What a smart way to get their message. So I thought, wow, that's wonderful. I called an insane friend of mine who literally keeps everything, kind of almost borderline hoarder. They had their daughter's homework from every single time they, got a good mark. So they gave me a story. I was actually going to skirt the rules because the way it was worded was the story had to be in the movie.
Okay.
So I was going to take the physical story and put it in the movie. And I was going to do an 8-minute gun battle because they said nobody's going to turn in an 8-minute gun battle on this. Well, guess what? I'm going to do that because I'm that guy. Right? Then I made a mistake and I read the fucking thing. Son of a bitch. I shouldn't have read it. It's so cute. It's such a cute story about a magic wishing polar bear. And I mean, I'm Canadian, so
I got a little connection there.
And it's about a girl who moves up to the north and meets the magic wishing bear, and she wishes for her mom to come back. And it's so sad. Fuck.
But going back to
so I made the movie into 2.
But going back to what I was saying, it is so important now as a filmmaker or whatever you fucking do. It is so important now to know when it comes to millennials and Gen Zers, you got to capture their attention from the fucking jump and hold them through it because they're used to.
I'm not gonna point say boomer to you here, but I'm gonna ask you a question. Think back to all your favorite slashers from the 80s and all your favorite horror movies. Now think to that first 5 minutes of every single one of them. Does somebody die?
No.
Incorrect. Every fucking one, somebody dies in the first 5 minutes because you have to give them a horror fan a little bit of blood to go, oh, that's what I'm in for.
Oh yeah, right? No. Yeah, they give them a little bit of blood, but there's a long chunk.
There's more character development and
there's a large chunk before you get to that next kill. You know what I mean? There's a large chunk of that character development. But I just feel
and I feel like a lot of shows these days, you are right, the modern horror films don't seem to put the time in on the characters. They either make you hate them immediately, like I mentioned, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre girl, which, by the way, she did a great job. What a great actor. Holy shit. Brava. I hated you so much. I wanted you to die so bad.
Yeah, hate her so much.
But great job. It's like Homelander on The Boys. You hate him, but he's so goddamn good.
Yeah.
You got to see what he's going to do next.
Yeah.
So, it's wonderful and hateful at the same time. But I think that you will be joyfully surprised in how I handle character development in slasher film.
I'm looking forward to it.
Because you're going to know exactly who all these people are in the first 5 minutes. You're going to know in the trailer. I'm telling you what they're like. You got the jock, you got the nerd, you got the stoner, you got, like we've got, I actually changed the nerd into the gamer because today's culture, I, by the way, also game. I have a Twitch channel. I'm an old guy who games. Yeah. It's stupid. It's retarded. Well, sorry, I can't even say retarded.
Nope,
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It is very ridiculous. I'm an idiot, and I know I'm an idiot. So I even called, like, if you look at Butchers and when you see the, the producers at the beginning and you see Northwest Nine and Grimehouse,
Mhm.
you'll see something called Null and Void. That's me. I'm Null and Void Productions. And the reason why is this, and I feel like this is a bit of my own philosophy. I got asked, why are you calling yourself Null and Void? I mean, it's, you're calling yourself nothing. And I said, aha, the moment one can accept that they're nothing is the moment that they can do anything. And his face just went, holy shit, it's true. Think about it. All the names you know, John Carpenter, who was he before Halloween? Nobody. Who was
Nobody.
George A. Romero before Night of the Living Dead?
Nobody.
Nobody. Who was Wes Craven before Nightmare on Elm Street? Nobody. Like, these are people who everyone knows. They're the pantheon, right? Even the kids today know them because they've watched the old movies. And by the way, the kids today makes me sound super old, but
I see myself.
the thing is, the kids today, they don't do retro like we do. They do retro on a whole new level.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't believe me, look at a young kid who's walking around wearing a Led Zeppelin t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not doing it ironically like the hipsters did in the millennial days. They're doing it because they actually listen to them. Mm-hmm. Look at the careers of Kate Bush, thanks to Stranger Things and Metallica. You know how many people started listening to Master of Puppets? Holy shit, that's fantastic. It's like people who started playing Dungeons and Dragons again because they realized, holy shit, this is actually really cool. And
a real thing, yep.
There are Hollywood stars who are into it.
Yep.
Vin Diesel is actually a very big D&D guy. So is yes, he loves D&D. That guy is really into it. Henry Cavill, who The Witcher, he used to fight with the writers not because he wanted more face time or ego. He wanted them to stick to the lore. He was fighting for the gamers because he's into it. Joe Manganiello is a huge gamer. He actually spent this year's Gen Con sitting in Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman's, who are known for the Dragonlance series of books. Mm-hmm. Like, he loves these people because he's into it. Yes. Gaming is no longer a dirty little secret. Girls game now. In fact, it's almost 50-50 now. Isn't that awesome?
It is.
It's amazing. And I feel like the gaming community is something that Hollywood seems to look at ways to monetize things. They monetize Comic-Con. Comic-Con's not a Comic-Con. It's a marketing scam. Mm-hmm. Right? I still think it's cool. I'm going to go check out the stuff. I want to see the announcements. I'm into it. But it is what it is. We know what it is. We know they're going to try and get our money, but we also know it's a big commercial for them. Right? Mm-hmm. So it's a symbiotic relationship at this point. Other conventions, they seem to just want to put their hand in your pocket. Mm-hmm. So I would say to people out there, look for the smaller horror conventions. Look to the really culty ones. I myself was honored that I've had 2 films screen at the Shockstock Film Festival, which is a horror convention, but it's a cult horror convention. But the people who know it are very, very, like, they actually were going to premiere Butchers. That's a real story. They were going to be the first place to have Butchers before it sold and, was all around the world. They were going to be where it was going to be premiered because they thought it was fantastic. And then the pandemic hit and everything kind of went away. Yep. So we didn't get to play there. So it was a little disappointing, for everyone. I shut down production in the middle of a short that I was working on. And I sat around for 2 years. But in those 2 years, I planned and I worked on slasher film. I used the time. Because otherwise I was just going stir crazy, right?
Yeah. So a lot of filmmakers, when they authors during the pandemic time, it got their creative juices going because,
Now I will say we have an opportunity as indies, and I'm just going to throw this out on your show to all indie filmmakers. If you have something right now, or being shot within the next, I would say probably year, within the next, I don't even think it'll go 12 months. I think it'll last about 10 months. If you're shooting something in the next 10 months, to get it done and get it out there, you have a really unique and wonderful opportunity in front of you that nobody else sees. The writer's strike
Yep.
and the actor strike put
Yep.
everybody on their butts for a while. Crews weren't working. People weren't, because they needed to solve the writer's strike. They needed to solve those issues. The AI thing was a needed change, a needed protection. You know, the deals that the writers were getting were just god awful. And I mean, it's funny because everybody goes, "Oh, it's all the privileged people. You know, they can sit around." They weren't on strike for them. They don't give a shit. They have enough money. Trust me.
Mm-hmm.
They were fighting for the guy who basically feeds his family, who stars in the Hallmark movie and works 16 hours in a day, and doesn't get to see his family because, you know, they're in Vancouver and he's in Ottawa.
Yep.
You know, trust me, that's who they were fighting for, and those things were needed to be done. So in no way am I maligning the unions, or I'm not a fan of ACTRA. In my area, I think the protections and the things that are needed to protect those people is 100%. But I do believe that they need to take a stance and actually assist. They need a mentorship program. I think they need to bring people in and, you know, give them training as an actor, instead of just going, "Oh, you were in several popular movies and now we're gonna take your money."
There you go.
That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
You know? And again, I'm just talking out of my ass. I'm not a representative of anybody here. I'm not anything against ACTRA. I'm saying work with independent people. If somebody in your guild, which by the way, it's not a union, it's a guild, wants to do a project because they love the script, well, let them. As long as the insurance is paid or the dues for the actor are paid, let them be working to keep their skills up, so that we, you know, look at the people we've had come out of horror. We had Jennifer Aniston come out of Leprechaun.
Yep.
Huge star, right? Jamie Lee Curtis, are you going to tell me she's not a star? I think her Oscar would disagree.
Yep.
Right? You know,
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin fucking Bacon, man.
Johnny Depp.
You know, we have all these people who basically laid their groundwork in horror. In the 80s, horror was kind of a place where you started because it was a, you know, a step above porn.
Yep.
It was a dirty little secret that you did a horror movie. Now people are going, I'd like to be in Guillermo del Toro's, Oscar-winning Guillermo del Toro's Shape of Water, please. I'd like to be in that creature feature. I'd like to be in the new Stephen King, you know, Dr. Sleep thing with the, you know, that was amazing. I'd love to be in that. Thank you. You know, I'd love to be in Midsommar 2, Electric Boogaloo. I
hope that's not.
I hope that's not real. but you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
Right? It's a it's a fundamental loss to the audience if they don't get the full experience. And you know, you're going to see some movies, like I watched House of the Dead by Uwe Boll. It's literally the biggest piece of shit I've ever seen.
Horrible. Actually,
and here's the funny part. Back in the Wild West days of the internet, Uwe Boll physically fought one of his fans.
Really?
Yes, he did. You can look it up. He did a boxing thing because he said he was sick and tired of being beat up by his internet fans, so he picked one.
All of his movies are garbage, but I mean,
but here's the thing. Here's the funny part. This is a real story. I'm on that list who wanted to fight him.
Wow.
I said in my thing, you better not pick me because you made me so mad as a filmmaker. I literally want to punch you in the.
But not only that, as a video game fan, right?
Yeah. Oh God.
He has tore a lot of great video games and made some of the shittiest fucking movies.
I watched Hard Rock Zombies, as admitted earlier. I'm in Jurassic Shark. I'm in some shitty movies, and I'm in some fun movies. I was in Iron Soldier. That was really fun. But so I can't talk about good and bad with anyone.
But those are cash grabs.
But those were taking advantage of the horror fan, and it insults me because they literally did everything they said they weren't going to do with the House of the Dead property. It's the only movie that I stood up, and I've never walked out of a movie before, ever. Because well, even when it's horrible, I want to see somebody love this for.
It's not good.
I mean, I sat through Batman and Robin, for God's sake, with the bat nipples.
No, but that's a different level, man.
It's a whole different level of crap. but I sat through it hating it, but I understood what it was at least. You know, it was kind of, they were trying to be the 60s Batman, the fun Batman. They failed, but you know, they tried. So
Yep.
hey, I get it. This
Like
Uwe
I'm a
Boll crap,
huge
I stood up and I said to my buddy Dre, I said, Dre, I can't. And he's like, dude, let's get the fuck out of here. And as soon as he stood up and my wife stood up, the credits started. I'm not kidding. We managed,
uh,
like it was such a, I've never walked out of a movie and I stood up to do it. I never wanted to demand to get my money back ever, because I'm like, well, you know, you take a chance when you buy your ticket.
yeah.
So, you know,
Like
but
I'm a huge Far Cry fan, right?
oh
When it
yeah.
comes to video game. And he fucked. I don't know. Have you seen his
No,
his
I won't
movie?
watch it. I got
Oh,
to be honest. I think that if you're going to make a movie out of Far Cry, it either has to be with Giancarlo Esposito and Far Cry 6's Yara storyline,
yeah,
or go full evil and Far Cry 4.
yeah, I agree. And I'm
Pagan
telling you right
Man is
now,
the
this is gonna
best.
make you so fucking angry. It's gonna
No,
make you so fucking angry.
I'm not
It's
going to
gonna
watch it. I can't.
yeah,
I tried to
don't.
watch 3 of his films after that. I watched them each time. I was woefully disappointed, and the opportunity to punch him in the face came up, so I put my name on the list. He didn't pick me. Surprise.
I know.
He took a guy who was really out of shape, who
But,
looked like,
yeah,
you know,
easy to
the
use it.
stereotypical, impression. People don't realize we're not all living in the basement. Some of us are just
No,
regular people. Just,
exactly. Kevin,
but he took the stereotype and beat him up. Basically, I'm like, wow, do you feel good about yourself? Pick somebody else. I dare you. I'll still
Kevin.
fight him. And I'm old.
Well, listen, I want to fight him after that Far Cry movie because that pissed me off. So, Kevin, where can everyone find you, my friend?
Well, if you want to find information about slasher film, indiegogo.com, or and just literally type in the search bar slasher film. We're number one on that name because, well, it's called slasher film.
Well, that's fine.
It will. I'll provide you a link as
Yep,
well.
it's going to be down in the
Yep.
description, everyone.
So,
Yep,
am I doing it right? Maybe
yep. Click right down there. Yep, boop, boop, boop.
somewhere.
Somewhere down there.
Make sure you like them, subscribe here, because everybody knows that the only things that get done in horror get done through what they call the grassroots movement. Zombie Info was in that grassroots movement to get a certain television show called AMC's The Walking Dead on the air. We fought with, we put advertising out, we put things out, we sent letters, we did everything we could. We started blogs. I had the kid who played Carl as an interview on Zombie Info in the old days. Great guy.
Chandler
Yeah,
Riggs.
Chandler Riggs. He's a good guy. He's a really good guy. And I met Norman, and I knew Norman and Sean Patrick Flannery from the Boondock Saints, and I had met them before. So when I see him, it's more of a, hey man, how are you doing? Hey, it's good to see you. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
He actually took a photo of one of the zombies on my arm and sent it to Kurtzman, which is this one right here. This one was done by Sean Kama, the tattoo artist out of Los Angeles, who tattooed Rihanna. This is Colonel Tony Moore's artwork from the Walking Dead comic, but it's Sean Kama's color story. Unfortunately, the camera, you're not going to be able to see the color,
Yeah.
but it's beautiful.
It looks
And
good. It's
years
awesome.
ago. And it was featured in Rumors magazine on their Halloween issue of body art, which was kind of fun and cool.
Yeah.
But I've been in the trenches with horror fans, and I know something that the general public doesn't, and that's that we support our own. And yes, it sounds like a cheesy cash grab right now, but I think as a fellow fan, I'm going to give you something different, and I think you can, really get something unique out of it. Nullandvoidmedia.com is my other. It's my business site. The only thing up there, I think, right now is a trailer for Butchers, because we were the producers, so we put it up. We put, and there's a couple of shorts, here and there that you can find on YouTube. I did this really fun one that you really might like. It's Horror Fan. It's called Horror Fan. It's 18 plus, because there's boobs in a horror movie. So
Always best.
but, well, I mean, but it leans into the stereotypes of horror tropes. So I think it's a little taste of sort of where my humor is for slasher film. So yeah, Horror Fan is on
What do-
YouTube. It's age restricted, but it's basically I had to make a fan film for a festival. So I made a fan film that isn't really a fan film, or is it?
Okay. Now, are there going to be boobs in slasher film?
Oh, real question.
Yeah.
And me just going on and on, right? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, sure there is. But
Yes.
is it a boobs and blood movie? No, it is not a boobs and blood movie. Is there
Okay.
boobs in it? Yes, absolutely, because the men and women are both in it. You know,
Mhm.
and I think that there are certain things in again, without giving too much away outside of what I have given. The tropes are there, but they're there for a reason.
Okay.
So I think you know, I mean, it's a slasher film.
You got to, right?
You're gonna go for, you're gonna go, okay, who's gonna live, who's gonna die, who's funny, who's stupid, who's annoying, who's the douchebag, like, I mean, you're gonna have all of that.
Yeah.
But then by the end of it, hopefully, we've brought you on enough of a journey with the characters that you go, wow, I actually cared that one, died horribly. Oh, hey, I got a really cool thing too on Indiegogo that horror fans might love. And ironically, I'm actually kind of calling to arms, not just because I want your money, because of course I do. Um, I might have to change. Well, I mean, maybe I have to change the script. I made a deal with one of the actors because her mom is getting sick and tired of seeing her die. Her name is AC Bennett. She played Taylor in Butchers. She played in Age of Vampires television series. She plays in Blood and Snow, which is a new film out. She's in a ton of horror movies. She's in a ton of dramatic movies. She's in a movie called White Trash, which is going to be distributed around the world soon. She's a very good actor. She's a friend. She is sick and tired of dying. So her mom basically asked if she could ask me. I'm not kidding. You know what? It's a great idea. So I said, yeah, okay, if you can get the votes, you can live.
Sweet.
So it's a $10 perk. And in America, I think that translates to 10 Canadian dollars. So I think that's like 6 cents or 12 cents or something American. I don't know. No, it's $7 American, but you can vote as many times as you like. Hint. But you can vote if she lives or dies. And I kind of need some votes in the dies category right now.
Looks like she's gonna live.
Well, maybe. I mean, there is 10 days or so left, or less than a week. I don't even remember. Whenever this airs, there's a very short period of time to get a vote.
It is. There's not that. It's about 10 or less days. Yeah.
So and I know that not everybody has cash, especially these days. I mean, fucking food costs way too much, and gas.
Everything's
up. I totally get it. If you can share it, if you can put it into the hands of somebody you do know, if you can, scrape together the $7 to make Nellie die, like, all of it would be appreciated. And even if you do participate, we're going to put a little thank you in the credits, unless you want to remain anonymous. That's fine too.
Mm-hmm.
I have some people who have contacted me directly who didn't want to be, in the campaign. So, and you can find my contact info right there. I'm easy to find. My Facebook is public. I don't hide anything because I don't believe that that's what it's essentially intended for. And honestly, if you're hiding it from people, what's the point?
Yeah.
The way I use social media is for mostly what it's for. I try to, put some fun into it. I try to add some stuff. Right now, I'm a complete media whore because I'm, doing
I was about to say you are. I'm about to say you're pretty active. So like,
I'm trying, yeah.
And you engage with people, with fans, or
I want everyone to help. I put it this way: I want my horror friends, not my horror fans. I want my horror friends to help me. And if it turns into something, if we're sitting here next year talking about Slasher Film 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yes.
Which, by the way, I have an idea for a trilogy. I'm just saying.
Okay.
But don't write that until
Yeah.
let's make one first, right?
Yes.
I'm going to try and do something that's not been done too often. I'm going to make this as open and honestly and as ethically as I can. Um, I will do some shady shit to get it done, but I'm going to tell you that's the difference. I'm going to be accountable. Right now, I think we're around 6,000 Canadian. That's about enough to fly somebody in who's going to be in the movie, and it's enough to buy a corporate account and some insurance, and make sure that everybody's got their legal stuff all lined up.
Mhm.
But I would really love to pay the crew and actors. I don't like the idea of volunteer. However, I also respect that the people who have offered to help me, that it's a real offer and they have real skills. I have, some people who believe in the project so much, they've flat out told me, yeah, you're not paying me. I'm coming out and I'm doing it. And I'm like, and I know that I've done that for other filmmakers. I'm working here and there on a friend of mine who's making a horror movie. It is more of a throwback called "I'll Be Glad When You're Dead." I was on his podcast. He cross promoted. He used his audience to help me. That's an
Mhm.
honor, you know. I have a guy who's developing a board game, uh, and it's kind of cool because the name is 20-Sided Dies, as in Dies. What a great name. Anyway, he's making a horror video game and developing it. It's like, and he's offered his platform to promote.
Nice.
So, and I mean, again, it's the horror friends bonding together and the gamers, bonding together and going, you know what? I have a gamer who is determined, by the way, to make Nelly live. He's
Nice.
already threatened me several times. He's a friend. So, but yeah, he's a friend in the sense that, yeah, he wants her to live. So he's going to put money in. Every time he sees her edging to dying, he's going to put money in to make her live. So I could use some dying in there, guys. Because it'll increase both sides, right?
Yes.
And what a freaky idea. I mean, I feel like I'm making a movie, and with her particular character, I'm almost having a choose your own adventure moment.
Exactly.
It's so much fun. And I do have a plan for if she does happen to win. And yes, I will hold to my word because, again, I've publicly said many, many times open, ethically, and honest as I can. People are like, well, what do you do if you don't make the money? And it's like, what are you going to do with the money? I'm still going to make the movie because people make movies.
Hmm.
Money doesn't make, well, I mean, money helps make movies.
It definitely helps.
And man, I could use that help. But again, and if this gets seen more by an American crowd, I mean, your money is worth so much more than ours. And, $100 is like $130. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, and we've got some fun perks. A friend of mine who owns, actually, he is a new Canadian. He's just got his citizenship. He immigrated from Detroit.
Wow.
Yeah.
I see why. Yeah. No.
He's been here years, and
Yeah.
his wife was here and their kids and everything. So, and he used to run a soul food restaurant. He's a chef. He started a coffee roastery called the King's Fusion, and the King's Fusion and Slasher Film have teamed up to make a killer cup of coffee because he said to me, and he's a friend, so I was chit chatting. He goes, "What are you up to these days?" I'm trying to get this slasher film off the ground. And he's like, "What?" I said, "I want to make a movie. I'm going to make my movie finally." Because I've made, I mean, if you look at my IMDb, I don't, everything's not even on there. It's because I don't update it. I don't really, I don't even have a picture up there. But there's a list of all the stuff that I've been working on, and it's like, it's staggering to me when you discover like just how much I've sort of been around different things like Eli Ross Clown or Butchers and 2 and 3, and then I did sound on that white trash film that Ace is in, and sorry, AC Bennett, his nickname is Ace. So uh, again, the community of filmmakers, once they meet up with the community of horror fans and the community of gamers out there,
Explode.
I think that we together apes together strong.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like,
I
and
mean,
when Hollywood finds out, I mean, yes, they've kind of have, because they, give us very expensive video games that we buy because we love, the stories, or we love the. One day, I would love to direct a horror game, by the way, and I have a great
that'd be
idea.
amazing. That'd be amazing because I'm a huge horror game fan. Like I
Oh, me
love the
too.
Silent Hill series or Resident Evil is my favorite video game series. So
Right now, I'm streaming Dead by Daylight on Twitch
Day by
sometimes,
Daylight is fun.
usually on Tuesdays. I like the new characters. They're bringing Chucky in finally.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's happening at the end of November, and they brought Alien in just recently. They brought the Xenomorph Alien in. It's great,
Mm.
and it's it's fun. And I've met some really cool streamers out there. Like Fresh Perspective actually hosted a online screening of Butchers, and I did a little behind the scenes stuff.
Oh, that's
Again,
awesome.
not my film,
Yes,
the
but
producer,
producer.
but I was there and I helped get it made. So, you know, he said it was so crazy because people would ask me, "Oh, well, what happened here?" And and I'd quip a couple of things that were really funny that happened and during filming or something. And it was just it was a really cool night, and there was a bunch of people in that Discord server. So again, there's different ways to reach people. So when you see me as being active, know that I made a decision. This is hard to admit for me. In front of the camera, I appear pretty confident. I've sang in front of thousands of people. I've performed in front of thousands of people live. I've recorded music with some of the biggest musicians that were around at the times. Uh, I've been very lucky in my life to be associated with people with real talent. I think that's my talent. I surround myself with other people with talent. So if you're not convinced by me, be convinced by some of the cast videos that are coming up. They're up right now on Null and Void Media and on our media channels. They're also on the updates on the Indiegogo, so you can see them. Again, transparency. You're going to see what I'm doing. And you're going to hear the passion in their voices, because I cast a chunk of this cast a year ago. Who commits to an independent film
For a year.
that they may or may not be getting paid for yet for a year?
Mm-hmm.
It's because they love the script, and it's such an honor to have those people's commitment, to have their drive, to have their love, and their talent to be shared with me, and well, really with all of you. Because if we can make this thing, know that I know that there's a lot of people like, we're a family. No, we're not a fucking family. We are a goddamn force to be reckoned with. We
Mm-hmm.
are a group of passionate artists who want you to see what we can do. I've picked people on purpose because they don't get chances. They don't get a chance to get the things they want to do done. I've picked crew who have never done the jobs that they want to do professionally because they once showed an aptitude for maybe doing craft, or maybe they're really good at doing lighting and grip, but secretly they're making special effects heads in their basement. Well, why
Yep.
aren't you doing special effects, man? Your stuff is
Exactly.
awesome. And he's like, well, nobody will give me a chance. I'm going to give you a fucking chance. I'm going to do it because, again, even when I was in the band, I got great musicians to play with me. And it's not because I'm amazing. Fuck no. I'm an idiot. Know this. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot asking for your money. It's dumb, you know? But I get great people, and I don't know how it happens. And I'm honored that it happens, because without them I can't do it. And it's magic that they want to do things. Today I was sitting with one of our actors who's actually doing double duty, and they might even be coming on and helping produce,
Nice.
because they believe in it, and they've believed in it for months. Michael Koski and I talked about this 6 years ago, and when I said, hey man, finally, during the pandemic, I got a script going, he's like, send it to me. He read the earliest drafts, which was awful, by the way. The early drafts were too clunky. I didn't like how they were too heavy-handed in some of the things, so I made a better pass at it, in my view. And I just kept my head down and kept working. And I, worked on Butchers 2 and I worked on Butchers 3 and I did sound on that. And I did sound helping my buddy, like I said, who's doing I'll Be Glad When You're Dead. I did sound on his. He's coming out to help me because I helped him. One of the things that is fundamental in the Canadian brain, and it's made a joke of in a television show called Letterkenny, which is kind of a rural version, and it's kind of a comedy version of Ontario, like Trailer Park Boys is a comedy version of Newfoundland. But one thing holds true: when a friend asks for help, you help them. That's it. And I'm honored that I can call these people friends. And I'm hoping that my horror friends from the conventions, or anyone who's seen me in a concert, or anyone's mom who saw me when I was in a concert, probably that. Don't ask your mom about me. Anyway, if you've heard a piece of music I've done, if you've seen a stupid little short I made one about a killer toaster once because, again, it was fun. I think it's on YouTube too. I think it's called The Greatest Thing Since. And it was part of a challenge. I love those challenge shorts. It keeps me, active, because you usually only have like less than a month to do it.
To do everything,
the whole thing. Well, I'm not very good at making something that's just a couple people in a room. So I want to make something crazy, right? So I killed somebody with a toaster. I mean,
that's the best way to do it.
So, but I mean, yeah, I just want my people to rally up. And where you can find me is on Indiegogo. You can find me on Facebook. My name's Kevin Priest. It's just like the country of Greece, but with a P.
Down in the description, guys, for the link to the Indiegogo.
Yeah, for sure. And even taking the time to listen to me rant like an asshole here, just thank you. Thank you for giving me any of your time, because realistically in life, humans own two things: your car and all that stuff. You don't own that. When you're dead, it's gone.
It's gone.
The only thing that people are going to remember you through are two things, and the two things you own are, number one is time. You own time. You don't know how much you have. You have a lifetime. That's it. You don't know how long that is. It could be 20 minutes. It could be 100 years. So to give me some of it, I'm truly blessed. And I don't mean that in a, religious sense. I mean it in a, like, I feel thankful for that. And the other thing that you own is your word. And I've made my word public. I've said I'm doing it. I don't know if I'm going to have enough money to do it. I don't know if I can make enough money to do it. But I'm still going to do it because I said I'm going to do it. So, and my actors have all given their time and word to help me do it. The people who are coming on as crew who want the opportunity to work in some place that, because if we make this film and the focus puller who never gets a chance to do that job does a great job on it, other people will see and go, holy shit, I didn't know you could do that. And he's like, yeah, I told you I could do it, but you never gave me a chance.
It just opens up other doors, man.
I'm trying, because in my life, and here's where I go old man on you, I've been lucky enough that people have opened some doors for me. I've made money for people. I've made money from people. I've made art, and I've made crap. I have, because I needed the job and I needed to keep the lights on. I'm trying to make something that's very much me. I don't know what that means, but I know I have to do it. It's like a splinter in my brain that I have to pull out. And if I don't pull it out, it's going to be there forever. I don't want to be sitting on my deathbed, if I'm on my deathbed, and not just careening, down the highway and fucking, hit by a UFO or something crazy. That would be typical. I don't want to be in that position where I'm at the end and I go, man, I should have tried. I'm going to try. And if I fail miserably, you can't be a has-been if you never were.
That is true. Which is why everybody who's watching, shoot over to Indiegogo. Support the Slasher Film. Actually, go over to YouTube. Go on his website. Go on his social media. Have a conversation with him. He's fun to talk to.
You can reach out anytime. And believe you me, if you by the way, if there's anybody on here who has a business they're trying to, promote, maybe we put a character in your t-shirt. There's a
Yeah.
perk for that. We've got, we didn't do Perkapalooza. We are not your standard fundraiser, by the way. And this is where you might be a little disappointed. There's no sticker, there's no water bottle, there's none of that bullshit. You know
There's
what I
no
mean?
mugs.
I didn't make a fundraiser to make t-shirts. I made a fundraiser so we can make a cool ass film and put your goddamn name on it as a contributor.
Yeah.
So be proud of that, or go, oh man, I've supported a piece of crap. But you got a good story out of it.
But you don't know. So
You don't know,
just
and I
just
won't know
fucking do
until
it.
the audience decides whether the film is good.
Yes.
But I've got 10 really passionate primary cast members and 3 subsidiary cast members. That's 13 people in the film that all go, holy crap, I want my name in this.
And
So
definitely watch.
I want to honor their
Definitely go.
work.
Yeah, but and definitely go to Facebook and Indiegogo and watch the cast interviews. What he's talking about, you can see how passionate and how engaged they are into this project, and that definitely tells a lot.
I'm going to give you an exclusive as well. I just found it yesterday. I have a film that I made, a science fiction film during the pandemic that happened. It was very tough to film. It was during one of the many unlockdowns and re-lockdowns. Everybody was nervous. Everybody was off. I tried to make a film a certain way and it didn't work. But I was determined to make it into something. So I changed the film and I found, you've probably all heard the expression, you make 3 films, the one you write, the one you film, and the one you edit.
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to make a film in the edit because I didn't have the footage I needed to make the film I wrote. And I didn't have the ability during the lockdowns to call everyone back and finish the work in a proper manner. So I gutted the film and I hated it. And I was thinking about shelving it, but I didn't want to dishonor the actor's commitment to making it with me by never putting out their work. I feel that's kind of insulting. So I worked and worked and worked. I made a little film out of it. It's called Life Incorporated, and we are going to release it. And it's going to be exclusive to backers for a little while. We're always going to give anything we put out. We've got a couple other things that we made. We were doing camera testing, so we shot another one called The Wall. We're hoping to have that finished. And our very first feature called Cross My Heart. It's a 2-minute horror film. No joke, 2 minutes, and I can get you.
Wow.
But we're going to offer all of that to backers, and it'll be available to them for about a week exclusively, and then after that, we'll make it available to everybody. So it'll be on YouTube at Null and Void Media. So yeah, that's announced here first.
Yes. By the way, I could have subscribed to your channel. We're dead already. I'm not sure. By the way, I'm gonna subscribe to your channel so I can.
Well, my personal channel has some of my bullshit old interviews from when I was running Zombie Info. I interviewed Dag Ferk from Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween. I interviewed, Tristan Risk, goofing around with her from American Mary. I usually wear a fez in those because that was my crown. I was the zombie king. I have a fez. Actually, there's a fez right here. There we go.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, I have it was sort of my gimmick. And then because I worked at Gen Con, I would film, some of the entry stuff. I worked, put up a safety video. So there's some stupid stuff on my personal channel, but it's under the name Pale Vox, Palevox, because I was the voice in the band Pale. So
okay, definitely. Everybody check that out as well.
And that's my Twitch channel too. Promo.
Show his Twitch channel. Kevin, it's been an absolute pleasure, my friend.
Travis, have you back on.
Once we get the slasher film up and running, I would like to have and shoot me over a screener. I would love to have you back on and let's talk about
100%. It. Yeah, I again, the grassroots movement is to me the most important movement because we're the ones who get things actually done. With no grassroots, there's no AMC's The Walking Dead. There's no Michael Koski in slasher film.
None. So, absolutely correct.
It's very cool. And if you check out the teaser on Indiegogo, you'll actually Michael's in the teaser saying hello. And
oh, sweet.
We also have Jason Rockman, who runs the Rockman Power Hour. It's a podcast that features a lot of metal artists and a lot of bands. He also interviews every actor who comes through doing press junkets. He was the #1 rock DJ for Montreal for many, many years. He recently has branched into his podcast and done a bunch of other things. And this is his first feature. And he was the lead singer of Slaves on Dope. If you remember, Slaves on Dope recently did a song with Chuck D from Public Enemy and Daryl Mack from Run DMC. These guys are not messing around. You should check them out. Slaves on Dope is wicked music. It's a little more metalcore. It's a little more, but it's very, very cool. And we may or may not be getting a certain song on the soundtrack.
Nice.
So very excited. And again, this is all just talented people wanting to show what they can do. So help me to help them to show you what we can do together.
Everybody, once again, shoot over to /FM Indiegogo in that link in that description. Click on it. Support. Kevin, it's been an absolute pleasure, my friend.
Thank you so much. And to everyone who put up with this whole rambling craziness, thank you for your time. And
yes, thank you.
Efforts.
Everyone, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.